cake and I'll show you.
I think you should start contacting your family and be like, hey, did anyone have like a wedding cake in the
Whose cake
freezer?
did I eat? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you should though look up what you can find that's closest, so you can secretly replace it.
Yeah. Go buy a wedding top. Put it in the freezer. Be like, yeah, I
No.
didn't eat your wedding. I know this one might look different, but it's the same. You just haven't seen it in a year.
It's been a little squished. It was under some ice cream.
Yeah,
The worst part is that might work on certain people.
probably.
I found it.
Unless they have photographs of their cake, in which case you're boned.
Wait.
All right, so we need to go through and formalize Cassander as a character. Um, that's not what a cake looks like.
That's
That does look like cake, I must say.
Is
Is that your
yeah,
character?
Like, I want cake
yeah,
legitimately,
that's my
son of
new,
a bitch.
my new character art.
Oh, so
I
do you
don't
okay? Do you want me to
know.
replace it? Because the one you had was like,
Yeah.
okay, that's fine. That actually
Yeah.
works a little bit better for reasons, and it wouldn't really
Ah.
matter, but I can explain why, or at least depends on
The-
what you say.
Yeah, the art that I picked was just art that I mean, that's a face I'd saved for a while, and I was like, this is good enough placeholder until I find something I like.
This
Is
is
there
a very
anywhere? Is there
Go ahead.
any way we can see everybody else's character art?
I will have to see about that. That's a good question.
Because that's the one thing I don't like about Forge is like you can't see people's icons like in Roll20.
Yeah, I did. I don't think anyone will care as much as I do, but I did discover that Foundry has a feature that I think Roll20 would really, really benefit from. I don't know if I can really show you, but so, and I think Jace, like you might be able to relate to this more directly from running Dragon Heist for us. Like in Foundry, you can actually, well, I'm not streaming right now. You can hyperlink sheets to each other. So I can take one sheet and say like, oh, this is about this character, and I can have a separate character for them, and then I can link it to that. So when I click the link, it opens that other thing too.
That technically is in Roll20 for GMs, but you have to do a lot of work on it.
Here, it's literally just drag and drop.
That would have been much better.
Yeah. And also, I think, can you do it in Roll20? I'd have to see.
There are certain things in Roll20 that are linked to each other, like in the pre-made there were.
Okay.
I'd never done it, but
Oh, and you know what? The thing is, I think I'll have to think about this to see if there's a way to show you each other's character sheets. Because what I can do is, I wonder what limited would do. Whoops. Limited. Let's try this. So, can you all now see Mel's character sheet like Black Wolf?
yes,
Like when you open it, what do you see?
just the description
You don't do you
and the
see the picture?
biography. And
I
the
see
picture.
her token next to her name. Yeah.
Oh, you see it. Okay, then yeah, that'll work. I can just give the rest of you limited, and you'll be able to see it.
I
Like
see
that.
the biography too. I could read the biography.
Yeah, I can't see her stats or anything like that.
Oh,
Yeah.
good. Okay, well then I can just give the rest of you limited ownership, and that should solve our problem. Configure.
Am I the only one that took notes, or can we not read each other's notes either?
Oh, I took notes, but not in. I mean, I watched the recap or the video last night, and I took. Notes,
I just
but
meant
in
where
Notepad. I can see your notes in there. I just didn't create anything in there.
I didn't
Okay.
put anything in player notes.
Like I can
Okay.
go Killian
I can-
and see
Okay.
everything you wrote.
I can make
yeah,
that
I just
so that you should all be able to see each other's notes if you'd prefer.
yeah, I just
Yeah, no,
wasn't
we
sure
can,
if
I
we
think.
could see that or not. But yeah, if
We
it's
can. I
just
can
mine-
see
Player notes
Killian's
thing.
notes.
Yeah, I can. I just haven't put anything in mine.
I think
I
like
created a page, but then I took my notes outside, and because I didn't have, well, I'd started taking notes before I'd even opened Foundry, and then halfway through the VOD, I opened Foundry and started looking at the playbooks and stuff to follow along.
John, can you just do me a quick favor? Go into those player notes and
No.
just try to edit your player notes on your page. Or Jace, if you want to try to do the same. I just want to make sure you can still edit them, because if you can't, I think I may have just broken your configuration.
Yeah, I can still edit them.
Okay. And I think, can you see each other's now?
I can always see
Yeah,
each
we
other's.
can
It's
always
just
see
a
each
matter
my
of
sheet keeps changing. I don't know if you've typed something into mine.
No? It's probably just reloading or something. I'll close it.
Oh, okay.
All right. Sorry, we're bouncing around a lot here. I'm trying to change Conrad's character sheet or his image or whatnot. Now you guys are going to see all my files. Oh no.
But yeah, I just I took all of my notes on my character sheet for myself.
Did that work?
Still nowhere near as in depth as John's, but
Why did that not work?
Well, it's my character's a train wreck because I'm playing like 40 different characters.
I need to reorganize mine. It's just kind of in a pile.
I
You
still
mean it's
haven't made
layered
my
like
crew's
cake?
families and stuff, but I'm sure that'll come out eventually.
There we go. Okay, there's Conrad's new character sheet or icon.
Oh, yeah.
There we go. All right.
Why does it say no playbook? Oh, okay.
I actually have 2 arts for my character because that's like my character's normal art, but then like my work photo, you know, because I'm a judge.
Oh,
a
right.
God ordained judge is this one.
Oh wow. That's you, very holy, very holy. Okay, speaking of very holy, I need to get some music. There we go. All right. So Conrad, let's meet your character. So we'll just start off like we did with everybody else. So go ahead and give us your name, pronouns, background, and playbook, origin, and appearance.
Sure. So I am playing Cassander, they, them pronouns. They are the judge of Stonetop. They are a prophet with who has been called upon personally by Aratus to come and take up the role of judge in this this place called Stonetop, which has had its line of judges has been broken long ago. They haven't had one for a long time. But now I'm here to set that right. I am from Lagos, down far to the south. I came from a big family, and I had been. I wasn't all. I mean, I was always like very into like reading and writing, and that was a question that you asked last week of people, and I was like, yeah, I'm sure Cassandra would have been quite well read and liked to write, but let's see. Oh, my appearance. Yeah, I'm in my prime. I have a calm voice, a slim frame, and I typically wear either the robes of office or very modest clothes. I guess that's it for that that question. I guess if you want me to just keep going and knock them all out one after another. My special possessions are my symbol of authority, a black.
Sorry, I was
iron
muted.
maul.
Hang tight.
Oh,
Don't get ahead yet.
okay.
Sorry.
right.
That's my fault here. I'm trying to figure out how to. I'm moving too much shit around. We're just gonna do it like this. Okay. So I want to make sure I'm taking notes here. Yeah, because there's a couple questions we're gonna have from Lagos. Always a reader.
Also, I think based on the recap, I think I got here very recently.
Yeah. So to this point, so what brought you here or your family to Stonetop? Why here specifically?
So I have not brought my family here. I was debating on whether or not Cassandra had a child, but I didn't have enough time to think of it to include them. So if I do, then they're back at home. But I don't think so. But I think I left behind a family in Lagos, and well, what happened was, and this is where my special possessions are coming from and tie into the backstory, I think, because one of my special possessions is one of those like the things that you can be like, and one of them is the smithy, which I think we still need for the town or something, someone who can fill that role. And I was thinking, because the symbol of authority is a hammer, a black iron maul. Like, I was being like trained as a smithy, or some of my family are the smiths in Lagos, and I didn't feel that as much of a calling. But then there was like, I think the way I was thinking of it is like a trader or something came to town from another place, and some traveling merchant, and among their wares was this iron maul that, when Cassander saw it, they just realized this is like, I need this thing for whatever reason. Didn't, maybe for smithing, didn't have quite the idea of what it was, but it felt like it already belonged to Cassander. And upon getting the maul, Cassander was struck with or either immediately or that night had a dream about Stonetop, and how it had once been like well, I like this. The flavor text for the judge is like, look here at this little town, this candle flame in the darkness. Its very existence is an act of courage and faith. And Aratus has charged you to keep it, to settle its disputes, to chronicle its tales, to defend it from darkness and ruin. So the dream that I had was, I imagine, of Stonetop from long ago, maybe centuries ago or something. And it was, in the dream, a very bright and vibrant flame, and the darkness was so far back that you could see all the way to the horizon through this light. If you were on the Stonetop, you could see that out in the forests and all different directions. And then something happened, and that light went to just a few embers, and then you had to look really close, and you could see that still some people were okay, but then as time went on, the light was fading more and more, because there was no judge there. The line of this protection was broken, and it's getting to a point where the darkness has nearly come all the way back to the walls of Stonetop, and is pushing in and threatening the city now. And this is where I see me holding the maul and using it to open up the lost, the chronicle that has been hidden and lost for so many generations.
Okay.
Because this maul was originally the maul that belonged to the judge from Stonetop.
Okay. All right. So, and you came alone. So when you say you left a family behind, do you mean a wife and kids? Do you just mean like parents and siblings?
I think just parents and siblings. I think I had been starting or maybe pursuing a relationship, but then this kind of cut it off. It's either that, or I was thinking, or that Xander's partner had died, and now they had a child, and so I brought the kid with me, like a 5-year-old kid or something, that I would look after as well.
That's up to you.
Which I might do. Maybe by the end of this, I'll have settled on that for permanence. But I don't have a partner.
Okay.
But I do think I have 6 brothers and sisters.
So big family,
A
left
big
behind.
family, and they are in. I think they are very much. I think they could be very similar to John's family in a way, like not as important of a role, but as established in the town that they are from. Like it's like, this is our homeland. We've been here for generations. This is where, and now I'm like, I got to go to someone else's. Like their home is about to be lost. Although I was also playing with the idea that my family is from a city that fell into darkness hundreds of years ago and had to flee their home and come to Lagos to live. And now I'm getting these visions of another city, like this other place. It's going to happen to this place too. So I'm here to make sure that doesn't happen to your home like it did happen to my family's home so long ago.
Okay.
Which I like as a driving thing. But big family nonetheless.
Okay. And then how long ago did you arrive in Stonetop? Decades, years,
So,
months, days?
I think part of me is tempted to say Cassander arrives like either shortly before or shortly after that fucking attack that happened in the winter. So like 2 months ago or something.
So
Maybe I came as early as the summer, like, and I've been here for a number of months trying to establish. So it's not so much of a ominous sign of like, what the fuck? This person from outside shows up right at the same time this attack happens.
Well, so I'll tell you this. This is something I was thinking about a little bit this past week, which is, so just for everybody's clarity, you would have traveled mostly along the Maker's Roads, and this is canonical in the wider world. So there's basically a kind of highway. It's, I believe, about 20 feet wide in most places. It was made by the Makers, who were kind of an antecedent race. They built Stonetop, for example, like the Stonetop itself, the cistern that holds the town's water, the ring wall, like the short waist-high wall they built. There's a number of like Maker ruins and things around the world, but a lot of things the Makers built have held have passed the test of time. And so sometimes they are like, again, the Stonetop weirdly attracts lightning. The cistern has like no cracks. It is basically still as well built as you can imagine it having been built when it was first constructed. And very specifically, the Maker's Roads, they basically don't deteriorate at all. And more so than that, the Maker's Roads are generally safe from creatures, not necessarily people. Banditry does exist in the world, but things like the animals, the creatures in the world tend to avoid the road. So it makes it quite safe to travel on. So that having been said, you could have arrived here like in the dead of winter, but I also want to make clear that a trip, again, like I assume you would have come here on foot, a trip from Lagos, even in the best of times, one way from Stonetop to Lagos is about 45 days. Round trip, it's like a full season to get to Lagos and back. So if you want to say you arrived like very recently after the attack, that means that you were traveling in the dead of winter alone, which is totally fine by me. It's interesting, in fact, but I want you to have that context that that's probably going to be a weird thing for someone to arrive in the dead of winter, but it's also, I think, kind of cool. And like, wow, this weird priest guy showed up.
Given that context, I think it's something that Cassander would have done if that was, like
how urgent was Aratus's call to you, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was urgent, right? As soon as I got it, I basically said my goodbyes to my family and, got into some big heated arguments about leaving the homeland and going off to some place they've never heard of or that's so far away. They're like, why would you go to Stonetop? We don't know anyone there. We don't have family there. I'm like, you don't understand. Like, what the fuck? You've never talked about Aratus before? And I'm like, no, she has. Yeah, but she has spoken to me. Like, I need to do this for them. Like, and I probably know some things about Aratus.
Well, and here's actually another question about that. Like, and this is for you canonically to decide, because the four gods that we've described, and Mel, just BT dubs, I did add some things about Danu.
I've been reading.
Okay, but those four gods that I've listed in the sheet are gods of Stonetop. Now, it's up to you, Conrad, if you think, was Aratus even like a registered god, like a recognized god in Lagos, or is this like a foreign god called to you when you picked up this mall, and now you're like, I have to leave. Like, does that change the situation where your family's like, I think he's gone mad?
I mean, I think there is I think they're mad kind, like that was like a reaction. They're like, what the fuck are you talking about? God is not speaking to you. You you ate something bad. You had a bad dream. And I'm like, no, you
had a bad fish.
You don't understand the level of what this dream, like, I cannot communicate that sufficiently to people. So it left a little bit of, yeah, I think my parents were incredibly worried and disappointed, and some, like, my siblings some of them were like, I am really gonna miss you. And some of them were like, you're fucking, what are you doing? Like we had like plans here where we were gonna take over the smithing stuff and do this. But we had a life to build here, and I had to kind of say goodbye to all of them.
Can I ask a question here?
Mm-hmm.
So, based on the Conrad, the ideas you've thrown out, if you're going with having lost a partner and now have a child with you, would your family think this is some kind of departure? Like, okay, you need a change after the loss of the partner, and this extreme reaction is part of it. Like,
I mean, that probably could be some of the people's interpretation. Yeah, I think if I have a little Sophia with me, then, but that I think that would, I guess I have to settle that. I think if I'm bringing a 5-year-old kid with me, then I would not travel in the dead of winter. So I think it makes more sense to be like, I got the mall during the middle of the summer, the height of summer or something, and so I left midsummer, traveled for 45 days, got there at the start of fall or in the mid, like, and have been here through the fall season, sort of setting up and kind of reestablishing the chronicle, getting to know people, and trying to establish, be like, yeah, hey, I am your judge, and have some of those confrontations.
Okay, so are you settling on you do have a daughter?
Yeah, daughter Sophia.
You said 5 or 6, something in there.
5 or 6, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I think Cassandra's partner died in like a. I don't know what threats Lagos faces, but I think similar to like, an attack on the road from something, or not on the road, but out in the hunting in the woods or doing something, like 2 years ago.
Mm.
So it's like, it's fresh still, but it's like and maybe that is part of why I was so eager to find something, or I'm latching on so hard to this message from Aratus, because it's like, hey, maybe I can build a life here. Like
This is
everything in Lagos feels like it's washed out in gray. Like it used to be vibrant colors, and now everything is like, washed out in gray, because it's not the same without.
Yeah, it's the dad who takes his daughter on a countrywide road trip after the mom passes away, because he's trying to bond with her, and your whole family's like, no, you shouldn't be doing this. This is crazy. And you're like, no, you don't understand. God is calling to me.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so we know how Aratus called you to her service. The symbol is a hammer. And you're saying it came into your possession basically like just a merchant, like a trader brought it, and you were like compelled to acquire it?
Yeah, like some could call it destiny and some could call it chance, depending on, there's an argument for both. Like, oh, the merchant I was destined to be in that point at that time, and it spoke to me, or it was just a thing that was reaching out to any mind that would listen, and somehow, something about my mind was open to the connection, and so I heard it and was like, I got to get this, and then as soon as I got it, Aratus was able to communicate with me.
I'm also just assuming that this thing was probably, and this doesn't really matter for our purposes, but I'm imagining it was like really expensive, and your family's like, what are you doing spending this kind of money on this?
Yeah, I basically sold my house for it. Like,
okay, yeah.
Like, I was like, I'll mortgage, it's like I had to, I would argue that I also got it for an incredibly cheap price of just money.
Right, like, because the person selling it maybe didn't understand it.
They didn't understand. Providence. It's just this, well-made, sort of. I mean, it's very plain. It's sort of simple looking, but it is like flawless in its design, and heavy as hell.
Hmm.
Um,
Maybe a little lighter on your hands though, right?
yeah.
Okay. All right. We know how you acquired it. And now I think maybe one of the harder questions so far. How did you establish yourself as Stonetop's judge when you arrived in the autumn?
Um, I think I uh, first came and uh, would have gone to the Shrine of Aratus just to pay respects, and then I would have gone to the public house and talked to a few people, and like I don't think I would just burst in and be like, hey, I'm your judge now, but like I would within like 2 days of getting there, like this is why I'm here. Like I would ask around about people's worship of Aratus, like, hey, do you guys have a judge? What's going on? And like ask some questions of some people. Kind of just get to know who is running things. Oh, this guy Killian is he's the marshal then. Okay, well, oh, that's your husband, man. Oh, I'd love to meet him sometime, and just sort of like not intentionally come across as antagonistic at first. And this is where I was thinking with some of the hooks of sort of this headbutting between John's character and my character is I think both of our characters are going to be in a way like we're very similarly motivated and have sort of uh, the same kind of ultimate goals, but we're coming at it from other ideas, and we fundamentally just have this like mistrust of one another because of the position that we're in. Like this town doesn't like. I understand from listening to it and like that John's character and John's crew, like these are like good. This is like Andy Griffith's level policing sometimes, right? It's like this is a small town. You know everybody's name. Everybody knows each other. Like the worst kind of crime you usually have to put up with is someone who is too drunk and kind of like making a ruckus, and you just bring them and you just lock them in the guest room or something, right? Like, and you're not. But because it is this, like you're good people at heart, but because it is this situation where you've taken it onto yourselves and it's all about people knowing each other, like you start letting things slide for the people that you know better than others, and maybe because you're getting treated a little bit better at some places, hey, like this guy gives you free refills on ale at when you go out to their place or whatever, this thing here, like slowly your crew and your people, they start to develop biases, and then suddenly they're not interfering with someone who is maybe like beating their spouse because they're a nice guy all the time. And I know they're in love. It's just sometimes that guy's got a temper, and so we just
We give him a
maybe say
pass.
this, and we give him a pass, or we kind of say, hey man, or but we don't actually bring it up as a hey, you're doing this must stop. Like you cannot be allowed to do this, and we are or at least ensure that the spouse has the protection. Like you're telling the spouse, hey, you have our protection. We're not going to, which is going to make the person who's like, hey, I'm really good friends with you guys, though, going to make them mad. Like that's what Cass is seeing in the problems with the way things are. Even though if that's not what exists, it's like that's the kind of thing that can fester here, if not.
Well, and I think there's also I'm
protected.
getting and Killian, John, you can definitely give some input here if you want, but like it's interesting to me as the GM because I'm getting from both of you vibes of like our characters are our intention is to bring order out of the chaos, but I think you're both thinking about it very differently. Like how it's being framed is like one of you's like, no, God will bring order out of the chaos, and the other is like, no, man will. I mean, of course, Killian as established is a follower of Helior, but I think that's kind of interesting. I don't know if there's anything there yet, but that's gotten some balls juggling in my head.
Yeah, Killian is absolutely set in how the town needs to be fixed and what the way, the easiest and the quickest way to protect the people are. And again, as we've established, yes, he is a follower of Helior, but he doesn't believe that that's what the gods are for. The gods aren't there to do things for you. You're there to do things for the gods. And it's man's responsibility to take care of things, just to prove that you're good enough,
Like
basically for their work.
I think that's something that Cassandra would agree with too. Like that intent. Like I don't besmirch other gods. I do question the or I guess I not question. I do have doubts, internal doubts about the type of person who would take up the mantle of being the like lawbringer, but not be a follower of Aratus, not take up Aratus's teachings, to follow Helior's teachings instead. I'd be like, well, why are you taking up the title of law? Like, why are you, that's not your role then. And if you are going to take that role, you should be following the teachings of the role that, that this is entails. And I think fundamentally, yeah, we have the same, our goal is the same. We both see the exact same danger that is coming to Stonetop, even if we don't have an exact, image for what that looks like, but we both feel or sense or know that this is coming. And we're here to ensure that the city survives it and is able to continue to thrive. But we just do not agree on what that solution is, or at least not yet. And maybe if we got to know each other and work together better, that these, we'd see more eye to eye. But because of me being a complete outsider, and because Killian from then Cassandra's perspective, because Killian is so deeply embedded into this town that I'm like, you're blind to some of your own problems in the town because you've been here for so long, that we just aren't able to trust each other yet. But I think we're both good. I think it's like, hey, we're both here to I wouldn't think, from a meta perspective, I'm like, our characters seem like they're aligned in their interests and their motivations. It's just,
How do we?
Yeah, I definitely get what you're saying. Yeah, I firmly believe, and I think we kind of vaguely covered over it when I was hiring my crew. Nepotism is definitely kind of a big thing. Obviously, my position fell down from my father, fell down from his father, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, there's.
It's not
I guess
necessarily
a
bad thing.
A stigma that you're kind of an outsider. So, can we trust you yet? Can we rely on you to be in a position like that?
And I have that exact same stigma. I'm looking at you guys and being like, the nepotism here is a little too, or it's not necessarily bad, but you should be open to other people. Just because someone is the child of the person who did it before doesn't mean that person is most qualified for that job. You should make sure other people have a chance to. And I know you said there's elections for the marshal, so clearly, but it's hey, who are we gonna vote for? The kid of the guy who did it before, or someone we don't know, because we're a small town and we know everybody. So it's it just it happens, and it works out when people are good. It's okay, well, that works, but you can't rely on the people in power to always just be good. And that's where Cass is so that's why we need to follow. So we need other authority to ensure that we when people aren't doing a good thing, like murdering their husband.
Wow, called out.
They face consequences.
Okay. All right. I think that answers those questions for now. All right. Next thing is special possessions, which we've already talked a bit about.
I have a third one. I have scribes tools.
Yeah, you have scribes tools by default and the symbol of authority, and then you're taking. Are you taking Smithy's tools?
Yeah, I'm going to take Smithy because I just think it kind of fits into backstory. It explains why the hammer called to me when I saw it. I was like, oh, the hammer, maybe maybe that's this. Finally, I'll be a good smith if I buy this hammer or something. And I was like, nope, not a smith. Different kind of hammer.
So the question, I guess, for everyone then, because I don't have strong feelings about it currently, were we lacking a smith? Was somebody hurt or killed, let's say, in a recent attack, or does it make more sense for him to become an apprentice to the smithy? Maybe the smithy is old and doesn't have an apprentice, or like I said, I don't have strong feelings.
I view that there's a lack of resources.
Yeah,
I was thinking about something similar with there's an old smith and he had a apprentice, but now maybe that apprentice took up arms in the attack in the winter and has either lost an arm or is not going to be able to fulfill the role of Smith anymore. Maybe they're dead. And it's just like, oh, now we don't have someone who was being trained to be Smith, so now this old guy is going to have to do it, survive, and keep doing it for another 10 years while he can train someone new. And now I've shown up and I'm like, hey, I know how to be I can do the job of Smith if you need to. Like, you don't need to trust me right away, and I can, learn the people and work alongside you here. But I don't need to be, I'm not apprentice level. I'm just not master level. I'm like a journeyman,
above,
I guess.
Yeah, you're exactly. Yeah, okay.
So, my brain did a weird. As opposed to not having an apprentice, or I like the idea of the old guy, but have the old guy just die during the course of winter and the apprentice never finished. It would give you a reason to be able to establish yourself to an extent in a completely new place that I won't say it's hostile to outsiders, but it's not used to them either.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think
so
I have
maybe
very
maybe
few
it's
friends right now.
maybe it's the thing where I'm kind of debating because I feel like as a GM make use of a smithy who is too old to. Yeah, like he came down with an illness during the winter, or I don't know if death is more interesting here. But I'm wondering if maybe he did have an apprentice, but the apprentice was like a first year, like can barely pick up the hammer on their own, like a young boy, who was basically
they can hammer out the ingots, right? Like
yeah, they can hammer nails, but like that's about it.
Yeah, like
he didn't get to teaching them about like any sort of weaponsmithing or like the necessities of like shoeing the horses, for example. That requires, I imagine, a bit more skill. Not shoeing, but like creating shoes for the horse. I think you know what I meant.
Yeah, they can make very, very base things, and
I was
not
gonna say,
even then, probably not consistently. I can't imagine blacksmithing is something you pick up on like the first or second try.
Right.
I do think smithies often did shoe horses too.
They probably did, yeah. But we do
For
have
our whole 2 horses.
Well, because Ronwyn, I don't know if she can shoe horses, but she is.
I think when the horse needs to be shoed, that's when Ronwyn and fucking Cassander have to work together.
Oh yeah. Well, of course, and the horses wouldn't trust
I need Ronwyn's help to. Yeah, I need her help to calm them.
Right. Yeah. It's not that you don't know what you're doing. It's that the horses will bucket you because they trust her.
The horses think you're freaky. They don't like the way you smell.
Yeah.
Well,
No, they probably don't like the way he treats you.
Yeah.
Also true. They can feel it.
Well,
okay.
I don't know what I know of the backstory of Ronwyn.
That's also true. Well, okay. Before we get ahead, like, is it more interesting, or does anyone have super strong feelings? Should the smithy just be older? Because I kind of like him either like coming down with something where he's grown weak, or is it more interesting that he just because the passing thing is like it's also weird because if you arrived in fall and then he dies. Is it that you arrived shortly after his death or you arrived before it? Because either way, if he dies, that's going to look probably kind of weird for you. It's like, I just happen to show up with this skill set, and the guy whose skills I would replace is dead.
I feel like if he got sick and died after I showed up, that would look bad.
Right.
So I would prefer
That definitely happened.
There's like a TV actor or something, I just can't think of who it is, who I'm picturing, like, I kind of want to go with he's still alive, but he's grown frail, right? Like maybe he's just too harsh of too many winters, and he just has a real hard time. Like he's exhausted, so he's still there. Because I like that because it gives Cassander someone to interact with, and to like actually give his. Because I think it would be important to the town if the old smithy gives Cassander a blessing. It's like, no, he knows what he's doing. We should let him stay. Because otherwise, I think that helps like smooth a little bit of the town's burden of like we don't know if we can trust. Because if you arrive and he's dead, like that's
What if he got injured in that? What if the old Smith got injured in that attack? Like
100%. Yeah,
caught a stray arrow in the shoulder and it just doesn't. He can't lift the hammer anymore.
Yeah, something like that's what I was thinking. Either that or he came down with some kind of weird sickness. But I do like that because there's, by the way, I've had to think about this in my prep this week. Like, I think there's going to be a couple other people, NPCs that were hurt in that raid. So it makes sense to me that the smithy probably got injured somehow.
Well, the other aspect,
Carowin
the
the old smithy.
Wait, what was his name?
I'm giving you a name. Carwyn. I'm picking a name
Carwyn.
from
Carowinds.
Caerwyn.
Was injured. And sorry, John. Somebody cut you off. What were you saying?
No, what I was saying is also resources are like, what would a smithy do? Like, people aren't running around in armor around town. Even like some of the pages that mention equipment and things like that, like other than iron, there's not a lot of other stuff. There's limited horses in the town. I think there's like, what establishes 1 or 2 horses, so it's not like they're getting shoed all the time. So there wouldn't be a push or a need for like additional, smiths or anything like that. So it's almost a blessing that he's coming into town, because nobody else was training on this stuff. There was no additional work for them to really do. He may not have needed an assistant.
It could just be a guy who was like
There just wasn't enough
59,
work.
And was like, there's not enough work to train someone. I still got time. Like, one of, another kid here will pick up the hammer soon enough, or in 5. We got another 5 years before.
So we're saying that that's why he didn't have an apprentice, not why.
Yeah, what do you have your apprentice do? If
It's a little less grim to say somebody just died, but yeah, he just didn't need an assistant. He didn't need.
And now he's injured, which means there's some work piling up, but not much, right? Because like you said, there's like, okay, well, like.
But it's also a signal to the town, right? That he becomes injured, and suddenly everyone's like, uh-oh, nobody has his skill set. Like, he might get better, but then suddenly this priest arrives and is like, I can help with the smithing, and it's like, oh, okay, well, yeah, I guess that works. Like, it is kind of Aratus's blessing upon the town, I guess, that like this random dude.
So it is like a portent, like, right, or an omen.
Oh, it was divine providence.
No smith's apprentice. Yeah, I think I can imagine easily a scene where like Carwyn is there with like one of the younger boys who's like, because the town has realized like we need to do something, and the boy is not taking to it. He's like, no, don't hammer it that way. And then this priest just rolls up, is like, no, you angle it this way. And it's like, oh, this guy has a hammer and knows what he's doing. Like, oh shit. Yeah, I like that. That's pretty good. Okay. So we know, okay, so you are, I don't know what the word is. I guess you're the new smithy, but it's like quasi-smithy, as you're being, introduced to the town.
I'm on probation.
You're on probation, exactly, yeah. Okay.
If I make it through the year and they don't, or whatever, and they don't hate me and I do all the things right, then this smith will be like, all right, yeah, there's a smith.
Okay. So those are your possessions. So we got through that pretty quick. Now, for the questions. These are the questions on your character sheet.
Yes, the chronicle.
This is the world building, the chronicles, and the other thing. Chronicle. Okay. Yeah, if you want to go ahead and read this to us, and you'll need to make some choices here.
All right, so the Chronicle. The Judge of Aratus is charged with maintaining the Chronicle, a history of the community, its people, their knowledge, and their traditions. The nature of the lore contained in the Chronicle depends on your background, but it is more than a mere book. It is a physical place. Decide on its physical structure. On the plus side, on the plus side, it's hidden underground, and it has a single entrance that's magically sealed, and it's warded against spirits and magic. So, which is another reason why it hasn't been found in the hundreds of years. Like, just very well hidden.
Okay, were there 3 things? Sorry. Oh,
yeah, that was 3 things.
One entrance magically sealed, hidden underground, and is warded.
And
okay.
Warded from spirits and magic. But alas, it is. It sits on the outskirts near the old wall, and it contains a few dangerous artifacts. And I do have 2 artifacts in mind.
Contains a few dangerous artifacts. Did you come up with these on your own, or did you find these?
No, I just came up with
I was going to say, because there are, on a separate book that I don't think I included a PDF of, there may be some artifacts specific to...
Oh, that's cool. I just came up with some cool generic ones that could be
Okay. Well, we'll hear them out and then see what we can do. Artifacts. What is it? Contains a few dangerous. Okay. Tell me about your artifacts.
All right. Well, the first one is like a geode, right? And it's got like a blood red center, and it's got a bunch of little facets, and you can get lost kind of staring into it if you stare at it too long, and it will drive you into a bloodthirsty rage, and you'll end up bashing someone's head over with the rock of the geode, and then the geode like will suck up the blood. Unknown origin.
Okay. Okay. I got it right. Okay. Geode will absorb.
I'll paste it in Discord.
Okay.
This is what
Spell
this
spilt.
is what I wrote.
Isn't spilt a word? Spilt. I guess we'll just go with the easy
Built
word.
with a T, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't.
Or spilled, maybe not. I think it's just spilled.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Blood, yeah.
All right. A geode with a blood red center. I assume, and you can always add detail later to this. Like, is it a geode? I assume that would look somewhat alien, right? Like something out of this world, or does
Yeah,
it
it's
like?
definitely not the same kind of rock that Stonetop that you would like the types of rock that you would find around Stonetop and in the woods. This isn't. This is like, volcanic rock or something, or is like, obsidian or something like the outside, and then the inside is this like, dark red crystal, and who the fuck knows where it came from. It's just been locked in a. I imagine there's just like it's either on a shelf or just in a crate or something in the Indiana Jones style in like this forgotten warehouse in a box.
Okay.
Top men.
And the other one, I didn't write up the other one because I didn't solidify exactly how or what it was. But a kind of serene painting of Stonetop, like a Bob Ross style, like just have like a nice little scenic thing. That during a particular astronomical event, like maybe a solar eclipse, or like when the solar eclipse is directly above Stonetop, which not just a solar eclipse anywhere, but when it's right above Stonetop, then the painting changes and like will show like a demon kind of breaking out in the middle of Stonetop, and if the painting like isn't in its protective casing in the thing during that time, then the demon can escape and it'll appear in Stonetop. So there's something to fuck with our village more too, if you want, Sean.
Okay.
Those are the two ideas I had for just random dangerous artifacts. If I had known there was a book of artifacts, I would have.
Well, there's not. I shouldn't say a book, but there's like some ideas.
A booklet, a pamphlet,
and
then Yeah.
I might come up. I'll try to come up with one more for you at some point. It might not be this session, but we'll see about.
Yeah,
that.
I mean,
That's
anything
okay.
else that's in there is cool. Like, yeah, I just was like, if I'm picking this and this is what I'm gonna say, I wanted to have some idea that would, to kind of start it off. And I
So
was
just
thinking,
to
what kind of
clarify, there's a
are...
non-zero chance that like this painting is like it's trapped a demon, right? Like whatever.
Yeah, there's
okay.
a demon. It's like someone trapped a demon in here a couple hundred years ago.
Or trapped
in this painting.
Right.
And the problem is it can get back out on the solar eclipse, which I don't know if there's one coming up soon or not, but like in the next decades or not, or if anytime. But like, if it's not in this protective barrier kind of or casing that we have it in, if it was outside, if someone had it hanging on their wall, because it just looks like a beautiful painting of Stonetop. That's the problem. Like, you can't tell anybody it's got a demon trapped in it; they wouldn't believe you.
Sure.
Like, this looks like a perfect thing to put over the fireplace. Like, it's a really just nice painting otherwise. But if it's left uncovered, then this demon will get out and will just wreak havoc.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So it sits on the outskirts and contains a few. Okay. The next thing you have to do is the lawkeeper. So
Yes,
Stonetop does not have a temple, by the way. It does have just a pavilion of the gods. It's basically an open-air pavilion for all four gods. So in Stonetop's pavilion of the gods, Roger's shrine is, and you get to tell us what it is.
I think it's been neglected by most. I think it's like I don't know what it looks like exactly, but I think the part of it is pretty overgrown with like moss and plants and weeds and other things, vines kind of crawling up it, and it just hasn't been tended to because, like has been established for the city, that the people here kind of acknowledge the gods when they need to, or when it's time to, kind of thing. And the person who has been doing the law enforcement is following Helior. So like, if I feel like if people are when they might normally have adopted or paid something to Aratus, then they'd say it to Helior instead, because that's who has been here, is their family's protecting the law, their family's following Helior. It seems just makes sense. It's not like it's a insidious or nefarious thing. It's just the way it is, right? Like, I guess here we just do it with Helior, and I'm like, hey, you guys forgot, you have forgotten Aratus, and it's not your fault, but like it's something that we need to get back.
You're following the wrong gods. I've come here to correct you.
It's not even the wrong gods. It's just like you can't do it without her. Like, you need her too. Like it
Right.
and she has a role, and you're trying to fill that role without her, and it's not gonna work. Like, it will fail if you try to do it this way. And I need you to see that, and you have no reason to really trust me, other than the fact that I did open up this lost little thing, which the chronicle, which I can't let people in because it's got fucking dangerous artifacts in here.
Right, yeah. Well, I was going to say, like,
offer
people are
office
definitely going to
visits.
be curious about where you're staying, right? Are you, and again, we can establish this later. I will have to, in fact, but like, you're not living there, are you?
In the chronicle?
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
no. It's like a cellar in right up against the outer wall or something that goes down. Like, there's it's magically hidden, but then with the hammer I can tap on like the little old wall, and you'll see like the ground kind of shift, and then there's a stairway that goes down, and then
I wonder if it's
alongside
like
it, that's where
they had a
it is.
little like a cellar that the farmers built for like leaving seeds or something underground where it's a little warmer, but they didn't know that there was like this hidden wall there that maybe a judge from long ago had put, and you're able to locate it because Aratus tells you where it is. Something like that. I'm not.
Yeah. I was thinking, I didn't know how disruptive I wanted to be, if I wanted to put the chronicle in someone else's cellar or in their
Right.
basement. Like, I was like, that feels a little too abrasive. But I think if there's something that's like, in their backyard, sure, maybe. Like, I'm like, hey, I don't live in your house, but I work out of your backyard now.
Right. This is mine now.
Yeah, and I will stay in whatever house is available to me, right? Like, I understand that I am an outsider and not welcomed here, but because I see my role here as vital, I'm unwilling to leave. So I'm trying to make the best. I'm like, I'll take what I can get, blah blah blah. But you're not gonna be able to get rid of me. So find me a mattress in, that has a roof over it, and I will stay there.
Okay. All right. And then of her true disciples, Aratus demands what?
So she demands truth, honesty, and forthrightness from her disciples. I always got to be truthful. Adherence to strict rules of diet and dress. I don't eat the flesh of animals.
Ooh.
And I don't wear like any type of fancy clothes or things with maybe more special dyes. I either am wearing like some of the sort of official robe or maybe it's like some type of I don't know what they're called. It's some type of like scarf-like thing that sits over your shoulders, as like that's the mantle of when if the judge was to be giving a judgment, then they would be wearing this. This is like the official
Right.
outfit, and so I can wear that. But then normally, now that I'm a follower of Aratus, I have to wear kind of simple, plain clothes, natural colors, no buttons, only loops or something.
Okay,
Of
so a
that kind.
Mormon just walked into town, everybody.
Yeah, not a Mormon, Amish.
Amish, okay. Also, just you not eating animal meat in a place like Stonetop, I feel like it's not going to go over super well. But we'll see.
I'll be hungry a lot.
And then what's the third one?
I was going back and forth. I personally like hospitality freely given to all who ask for it. But I think for the character, it makes a little more sense to do the punishment of thieves and oathbreakers. But I feel like ideally you create an environment where you minimize that, but I do think like when it comes time, you do have to find a way to punish these people, and it's not always like a cut off your hand if you're a thief or banish you but it's like if you do something, like you owe something back now, you have to, and it's not like maybe not time in prison or in confinement, but it is community service work. It is, hey, now you owe like something back to the city. You are going to need to hunt this certain amount of things. You're going to need to build something for us. You're going to need to do something.
Community service, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that's what. So I think. I think I would. I think Cassander would operate on the first four, right? The only one that I don't think is there is the respect for authority, property, and rank. I think you don't respect those things just because of what they are. You respect the individuals, and that's where you get and that respect comes from truth, honesty, and forthrightness, and just being hospitable to anyone who asks for it. To be, someone is in your home, you feed them. If someone, it needs help, you help them, and that is how you end up earning and building the respect with the people who are in authority and have rank. But just because someone has that, it is still
Okay. Yeah, I thought you wouldn't take that one because I feel like it would put you at odds with Killian right away. Like, how could you have respect for him and also not respect him? So I thought that one would be a little weird.
Yeah, like that too. That's why I'm thinking, I respect Killian for what Killian is trying to do and what he believes in. I don't respect him because of his authority and his position, right? I'm not respecting you because you're the marshal and you're saying you're the law enforcement. I'm respecting you because you're someone who has lived here and cares about this place. So I will listen to you, and I want to work with you in that regard. But I basically need to take the power of lawkeeper away from you. It's not yours. It doesn't belong to you. And that's gonna lead to conflict, because who the fuck am I?
Right. Okay. So that is your world building stuff. The next thing we have to do is you're going to introduce one or more NPCs. So we're on step 4. So you need to answer at least one of these questions, ideally 2. And I know
right.
lover, spouse, betrothed doesn't work.
Well, here's what I got. So closest kin now, we got my 5-year-old daughter, Sophia. She's almost 6. Maybe she'll be 6 this summer. And she has come with me to Stonetop. It's gonna be tough. There's not. I wish there were more kids here. I guess there's not a lot, but maybe. Maybe also the fact that I brought a kid here with me is showing a little bit more that I'm here to be invested in this place. I'm not just here as a complete outsider. I brought someone who I want to make this a place so they can grow up here, and it's good for them. And then I guess I could do it with Kerwin now as being the wisest of the town elders. But that's not. I had just picked the name Magda as like and I was thinking like she's an old woman, and she maybe remembers a time. I feel like she's probably the eldest person in the village. An old farmhand, farmer's wife, still kicking it. Outlived him by like 20 years. She's like 80 or something, and just like seems like she'll never die, even though she's lived well beyond what people might be the kind of predicted lifespan in a place like Stonetop. And maybe she remembers a time when people tended the Eratis shrine a little bit more closely when she was a child. She's like, oh yeah, we used to, like it still wasn't like a devout thing, but it was like, oh yeah, but there were people who did it. There were still some people who kind of carried that on, but that was 80 years ago now. And so to that, I'm like, oh, so she might be the one. So I try to listen to her. And then these are maybe things that are a little too early, but they're things that I liked for the drama. Who is my apprentice? So I don't have one yet, too early. But I think Killian's adopted daughter would be a perfect person to train in to be the next judge. And who is my lover? Maybe Morgan.
Oh.
But I don't know about that one.
I wasn't gonna have her swing that way, but
Maybe she swings both. Who knows? That's still interesting. I'm gonna offer you, Conrad, a question I was thinking about here. You don't have to bite at this if you don't want. Is there someone in town, an NPC, not one of the PCs? And if this steps on any of your PC questions, you don't have to answer it. Who in town believes you a charlatan? Like, who believes you showed up and have just convinced everybody of something that they fully know is not true?
Zane. We were blaming everything on Zane.
I was thinking maybe because not to do Zane, maybe to say Amber Lee in this case, to give then Black Wolf a reason to also like be mistrustful, because like I feel like Black Wolf wouldn't inherently be mistrustful of Cassander, because as both outsiders, we both recognize that like, hey, neither of us are like we share something here, and maybe we can get to know each other over that and like build some mutual respect, friendship, something, and trust here. But to add more,
it would be conflict for Black Wolf because she does trust Amber Lee, but she doesn't understand why Amber Lee has distrust of you.
Right, yeah. That's kind of what I was thinking. I'm trying to wonder about why Amber Lee just immediately doesn't trust Cassander. It could be, and again, we can establish this in play, but I wonder if it's because there was previously a charlatan who did something similar, or it could be that in her youth, Amber Lee actually knew or met a judge of Eratis and has reason to believe that
I like that one better.
Cassander doesn't fit the bill.
But Amber Lee,
or it could just be because Amber Lee knows that, because the prophet, my read of the prophet in specific is like, you're kind of like the only one, right? The line of judges was broken, and Amber Lee maybe knows that the line of judges was broken. So one just showing up is like, no, this can't be true because the line of judges was broken. Like, he can't be who he says he is.
Not only that, but I think I picture Amber Lee has a lot of trust and faith in Killian's family. Like, they've done well by the town for so long, and again, she's kind of that old boomer mentality of like, don't do change. Like, he's gonna fuck everything up. He's a charlatan trying to get power, especially if Killian's reign has only recently started within the last couple of years. Reign, I say with air quotes.
Okay, that's interesting. I'm good with that.
Yeah, that's what I was like. Just like kind of that boomer mentality, like not anything super specific, but just to be like, I don't know, bad vibes, outsider, don't trust them. They're not from
Which,
here.
of course,
they
in it
do
is some
things different.
hypocritical because of me. But if she's also thinking I'm somehow
Yeah, but you're
related
from
to the
here. You're from
forest
you're
folk,
one of us basically, and like, hey, you're from
Yeah.
around here.
or if I'm somehow related to the forest folk that she wants to bring back.
Yeah, and she might have more positive stories or from like familiarity with the forest folk, like associations.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe she doesn't have any associations for people from Lagos. Like they're just a blank slate. So it's like, oh, I'm an outsider. I'm here saying something that conflicts with what they know. The judges are dead. They're gone. They've been gone forever. We don't have judges anymore. It's an old thing. So just like, and yeah, I just follower or likes Killian, believes in the family. Is like, this family's been here. They're good to us. They help us. They protect the city. Like, why would
Who are
we
you
need
to
an
come in and tell us
outsider?
otherwise?
Yeah, why would we need you? Well, must be something up.
Okay. All right. I think that those are your questions. And now for your PC questions. These might be a little challenging, but we'll see.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I could ask all four. See, which of you is a true disciple of Aratus? Well, none of you. That's
Yeah,
fine.
I think that's
Ronwin, actually. He just doesn't know it. I mean, from what I was listening to yesterday, it did get me. I was thinking Ronwin, because Ronwin wants forgiveness from Herbine, but not really. That's not what she's looking for. But it's something like that. And I know what it is, and only Aratus can give it to you. Like, it's just, you owe a debt, and you know you need to pay that debt, and you don't know how. Like, it's like you just don't. It hasn't clicked yet, but it could, and you could, Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, he's the priest, right? It's your job to convince others of the rightness of Aratus and how she can heal all that wounds you. Yeah, Jehovah's Witness.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't think there's currently another judge or true disciple of Aratus among the PCs.
The second one, which one of you is my closest confidant? I don't have that yet, unfortunately. I don't know. If I got here in the fall, then which one of you has stood behind me in a battle against unnatural chaos?
Probably me.
Okay,
One of the abilities I have is essentially like an earthen grasp. So if you had a run in, especially maybe early winter, like as a precursor to the event that happened, the attack, if you and I were the ones that just happened to be about, or I heard you because I wandered the outskirts of the city, getting into trouble over by the smithy or something, and I came in with these tendrils and just bound up whatever was coming at you, so we could fend that off and then go get Killian and everybody else.
It's probably like when I was out, like either tending to the Chronicle or like putting something there, like working there, because that's out on the outer wall, right? Like it's I have to be out there, and then when I like to go for walks sometimes and like get the feel for the place, and maybe I was out and we both saw something at the same time. All right, I like that. And then the last one, I mean, against which of you have I passed judgment?
I mean, Killian, right? He's
It
unworthy.
sounds like you've been doing that against Killian before you even knew him.
Well, just to be clear, we can interpret it differently, but my read is like, this is like in an official capacity, not like I judge you unworthy. Yeah. This is like you did something and I am obligated to pass judgment. That was my read of it, at least.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking too. Like I clearly have my opinions of Killian, and I mean, I guess there is something where I have judged him unfit for the office
Unworthy,
of
right.
lawkeeper, and I like I am saying as the lawkeeper that I am revoking your power. Now, what does that actually mean in practice? You know, no one's going to listen to me without Killian also being on board with it. And if I try to take matters into my own hands too much, I'm sure then Killian would get involved to stop me. So, but I may have made a public say this is not the way. He's not the lawkeeper. You know.
So I've got another idea. It could be Ronwin. It gives you a reason to know the background. Again, you're getting to know people, yada yada, and for some reason it comes up, or there's some kind of thing, and you feel you need to take action. What do you mean this woman murdered her husband and is still living here, untouched?
I have thought about that too a lot. If I know, then I certainly have, because it's like I recognize I can't. The thing that I would ask from Ronwin is service. I'd be like, all right, well, if you're not, like, if you want to live, I understand the crime was 40 years ago. I don't necessarily know the truth behind it. I know probably the story of he was cheating on you. But yeah. So if I learned it, I'd be like, well, I'm not gonna, like, it's too late to like execute you, or you're banished and you've already come back. You were here before you got here years before I got here, so you've already reestablished yourself in the town. So I was like, I'm not gonna be able to banish you again, but it is like I would pass the judgment officially, and I would like write it in the chronicle, be like, Bronwyn, this is the debt that she is owed, or that she has to pay, and that would be logged. And then what does that mean? I don't know. I come to your fucking house every day and I'm like, hey, you gonna come do the community service work today? And you're like, get the fuck out of here. I'm like, one of these days.
And again, you have to banish the fact, or not banish, but balance the fact that yes, she was banished. She has paid some penance, but you still need to.
But
it was a life loss.
It wasn't an official penance, right? It was like it could have been perceived as self-exile. So yeah, like it is a punishment, but it is not a punishment officially brought down by Aratus. So it's like,
yeah,
yes.
I have to.
If she was banished as punishment, she would not be allowed back in. Like if that had been the judgment at the time, like banishment is banishment. You were banished because it was it was the least loss of life, and maybe Killian's dad knew the real reason, but didn't want to, say this stuff. And it's like, that's the kind of thing that then Cassandra would be like, no, we should all know that her husband raped somebody. Like that, why are you hiding that? Why are you protecting his name, his reputation, or protecting this idea that these things don't happen?
And maybe
because
not
if you
knowing
don't
that kids
bring them
live
out
in
into the
town.
light, then they will keep happening.
Right, and the thing is, like, to Mel's point, like, I cannot stress that enough. Like, if you start mouthing off in town about that, like, you're gonna have more than just the PCs to contend with. Not to say you shouldn't do it, but like, they do not want Aerthel to discover like his origins, right?
Yeah.
And so that would be like, hey, kid, we get that you're like all faithful and stuff.
Which is why I think I wouldn't know the actual story. I would just know that she murdered her husband and was banished for it, and now has come back. She thought she was going to die when she got back here, but the healer here, was able to cure her or treat her or whatever that status is. But she did murder her husband, and now she's back. And like, it's like, if you want to, like, either you have to leave, like the punishment is either banishment or it's service. Like I also recognize that if I were to try to take Bronwyn's life, she would kill me. So, like.
Also, does
right,
it occur to Cassandra at all, and I'm just throwing a little wrench for fun, that like if she came back and she was dying when she arrived in town, and that she didn't, is that not a kind of way of the gods saying, okay, because they could have just killed her, right? Like the gods
Yeah.
could have. So does it occur to Cassandra that like, well, maybe if
Absolutely. I think Cassandra is operating a lot of times. So my instinct uh, is zeal, to judge quickly and without doubt. Um, and I am seeing things, I think, in through a lens as an outsider, and with this view that, you know, Aratus knows something is going to happen, and she knows that in order to protect this city, through to keep it protect, you know, so it will survive the coming darkness. It needs a judge, and it needs people to follow, to believe in Aratus, to follow her will, kind of, or her teachings, and to keep the chronicle, to keep the history. Like the tradition that John's family is keeping, and these things that they have are all well and good, but they're not the official history of the thing. He might have his family tree going all the way back, but he doesn't have everyone's family tree going all the way back.
mm-hmm.
And that's what's been lost. That kind of thing. We should have that for as many people as we can. We should have the documentation and these things going back the hundreds of years. That's how you really know what is what in your city, and you don't let things, when things happen, you bring them to light. Like you that is how you keep the city safe and the people safe, is you bring the darkness into the light, and you say, this is what's happening, and this is why we need to stop it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, and because I have this, like, literally Aratus like spoke to me, basically. Then the things that I see, I'm like, these must be, like, you know, Bronwyn is here. She came back too, so she could be here to help protect against this coming darkness. So I am going to make sure that Bronwyn is going to do that if she intends to stay in the city. Like, I know there's a sort of tacit, like, hey, I help out a little bit so people kind of leave me alone, and, you know, the ranger kind of keeps people. Some people are like, no, leave her alone, just let her be, like, blah, 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 and you do your little things, like tend to the animals and the horses and stuff, and just kind of keep out of people's way. And in the same way that kind of Black Wolf is doing, it's like, you're here to help a little bit, but you're like mostly an outsider. I'm like, for at least at Ron, when I'm like, no, you are going to be, you know, a important part of this community if you're going to come back to it. Like, that's the only, like, and you have to take on that responsibility if you're going to be here.
Mm-hmm.
That's the judgment. That's the thing. And I'm the only one that can enforce it, and the only way I have to do it is to convince her.
Right. Okay, not stirring up the pot at all here. I love it. I think, and you just have to make sure that you choose your move, so you get the 2 by default, and then I think you get 2 others of your choice.
My first one is Hound of Aratus. When I seek insight, I can always ask what here is tainted by chaos for free.
Ooh, okay.
And then I was going back and forth. I like the mechanics and the name, or the thing of the hammer in the book. When you strike a thing of supernatural chaos, roll a modifier, and then you can do more damage or get through armor. There's some cool things. I was like, oh, I like the mechanics of that. But then when I was reading through them again yesterday and listening, I really liked Bear Witness. It's like, when you speak the truth with conviction and candor, none can doubt you. They might deny what you have to say, but in their hearts they recognize the truth. I don't know what mechanical effect that has in any way, shape, or form, and, like, I'm gonna be speaking the truth most of the time anyway. So it's like, that kind of goes in line, but I don't know. I feel like it would kind of if I had that, it would maybe undermine the potential conflict, or the growing conflict between me and Killian. I think if I take that skill later when we learn more moves,
right,
then that's when it might be like, hey, now you understand that it is true that I am doing this. So I think I'm still sticking with the hammer in the book, just because the thing that I see most is that there's something scary coming for Stonetop, and it needs to be protected.
Mm-hmm.
and I'm here to do that more so
Yeah,
than like
I think
judgment isn't. It's very important, but it's a little bit secondary.
right.
Uh,
Oh, KT, congratulations.
Oh, awesome! Hell yeah, KT.
I just got the
Absolutely,
email.
congrats.
I was like, oh,
Now
oh,
we just need to find out about the cake, and we're going to be all settled for the day.
yeah. Oh my god.
You can breathe again.
Breathe. Take a breath. Come on. It's okay. Deep breath. You got it. You good.
I would say the score is much higher than I had anticipated.
Oh,
I don't think
please.
this guy read what I wrote.
You know what they say: study high, take the test high,
I just
get
want
high
you to know.
scores.
Yes, that's how you do it. I submitted the essay 24 hours late, and I told them, hey, I was shitting my brains out. Sorry about that. And they were like, no problem. And then I did not format it correctly, as in I didn't include a table of contents, and I barely put in any appendices. And I was like, well, as long as I pass, and I got what is the equivalent of an A minus in Britain, so I'm happy.
Which also kind of to me
Congratulations.
speaks to probably how bad some of your fellow
I
students
don't want
did.
to ask how those people did. I'm kind of worried. 'Cause
So it's
some
either
of
that
them
or they give
joined-
everyone A's because it's like you're paying that much for
Yeah.
a degree, or
I will say, yeah, it might be that. I'm kind of tempted to ask them now, but yes, sorry. Go on, go back.
no,
go back.
that's not. Yeah.
Yeah, you should
Congratulations.
ask them what the passing rate is. Like, oh yeah, 95% of people get A's.
Ask you.
Like, oh, I mean,
That's funny. Okay, so you're all right. So you're taking the hammer and the book. Definitely some supernatural chaos as has been established canonically as well. So that should definitely come up. Anything else? Any other questions for Cassander, our new scary judge?
Yeah, what is the relationship with the daughter here? Is it strained? Does she have any kind of daddy, you took me away from everything I knew?
Where does she go when you're at work?
Where's Grandpa?
Like, how does she integrate into the town in that way?
I mean, these are good questions. I think it's not strained, but I think much like the way John described his adopted daughter, I don't remember the name now you gave.
Sienna.
Tiana.
As like kind of getting a little or becoming more somber or stoic, or like I feel like when my child was like 3 and 4, they were always laughing and giggling and having a great time. But since the death of my partner, then they now Sophia has just been kind of a lot quieter and a lot more. She's retreated inward, and stopped sort of wanting to play with all her friends as much back home. So she's not mad that I left, but she's not. I think she's still just like, I don't know what to do to get her out of this depression. I don't know how to break through it. I think she, I'm there for her. She knows that, but it's like, what does that mean? Like, mom's
And it's
gone.
also, as we've established canonically, there aren't a lot of children, and the ones there are of like a varied age. So there's not like a whole lot of other kids that she can hang out with. You could have like Kerwin would probably watch her for some of the day where he can't work, obviously, and you're doing the smithing. Maybe the midwife Aerthel might tend to her for a bit because that's something he can do. Maybe Amber Lee, but again, if your relationship is strained, I don't know about that. But it's a community. Sometimes people can watch other people's kids, but we'll have to see about that.
I probably take her with me everywhere except when I go to the Chronicle because of the dangerous stuff that's in it. I would just worry about her if I was like busy hunched over writing some stuff down, because it's like I think what I spend most of my time doing because the smithy work seems like we've established it's not like a full-time job, right? It's like a once a week you got to do like 3 hours of smithing to get through the orders that people need. Someone needs to fix their door, and so okay, they need some new nails and they need some of these things or whatever, new brackets. Smith out some of that kind of stuff. but it's not something that it takes a lot of my time. So what I do is spend most of my day, I think, just going and talking to the people who live here, and getting their stories, asking who their parents are, like who's your like, and then I go back and I write it all down, or I take my notes and while I'm out, and then I go back and I put it all in the official, chronicle. And I think, unfortunately, I don't think while this place was protected from spirits, I don't think it was protected from the damp. And so most, if not all, of the prehistory of the Chronicle is like, I am very scared to even touch it. The stuff that's there, like, if you open the books, they fall apart. So I just have to start with new stuff, and I'm trying to make as big of a backlog as I can and connect these things, and just building a picture of what this town looks like, and who are these people that I've come to judge.
Okay. Any other thoughts, comments, questions, etc.? We're like right about halftime, so if we're good, we can maybe take a little break, just get a drink, whatever, and then come back and maybe jump into a little bit of play if everyone's down.
Sounds good.
Sounds like
Yeah, I rolled really well on our summer roll, right?
You
Like,
did, yeah.
best roll I could possibly get.
Everything's totally fine. There's no problems in town whatsoever.
Here, yeah.
This
Sun
is
is shining, birds are chirping.
this is just an off question, but like, and it probably doesn't affect now, but I wonder what Cassandra would think if they knew why Ronwyn killed, her husband. Would they like interpret it as Bronwyn making a judgment herself?
I mean, this is why I think the more I learn about you, the more I'm gonna be like, you belong to Herodotus. Like, you just don't know it. Like, you already, like, you
You're
took
making
up
judgments,
you
should be
took up
judged,
the
all of the
fucking
above.
responsibility. Like, what I would say, the story to cheating you. I'm like, you don't have the right to make the call of being like, hey, he's cheating, so now he needs to die. Like, that's not your position. But the deeper story, I'd be like, okay, like, this is a different thing, and it's not like I thought you were reacting out of an emotional, like, you were hurt, so you're hurting back, and that's not how, like, taking a life is one of the highest, crimes you can commit. I think in the law of Herodotus is like, that is left for the most extreme punishments, and there should always be, or often be, an alternative to that, but it needs to be, so it's like, I'm not upset that she wasn't executed, but I am upset that she hasn't, like, officially paid her price.
Okay.
Cool. And I think if I learned, I'd be like, if we got to know each other in a non kind of hostile way, and I learned the truth of this, I'd be like, Ronwyn, you did pick up the hammer. Like, that's what it means to be a judge, to see that, like, you should have done it officially, and you have the will to do it. Like, you're the type of person that could do this. Like, you don't get angry up beforehand. You just, when you see the thing, and you do it, it's like, and if you're gonna do it anyway, then act officially. Like, do it through the right way. Don't just do it through violence.
Interesting. Yeah, but we have to get there first.
But we got to get there. We're way far from that. Yeah.
You just think I'm
Now
random
you're just this
person.
old fucking crusty lady that lives in
I'm just the
on the
one-eyed
outskirts.
shrew who
Yeah.
killed her husband out of jealousy. Yep. Cool.
She wants to come back and die here, like, it's her fucking right to. You gotta give something to the town. You took something from the town. You took two things from the town. You took your husband and you took yourself.
Wow.
It's like,
Brutal.
Wow.
that's 40 years the town was without, two people that could have been building something. I didn't know that he's a piece of shit.
Well, maybe you'll find out. All right. I am just going to step away. I'll be back in a couple minutes.
Okay.
Okay, BRB.
Here.
am here.
I'm here.
I am also here.
Jason got to turn the tea water on. He might be an extra minute.
Oh, Mel, by the way, I see you just booted up that trading card game.
I'm obsessed with it.
Yeah, I think I watched somebody live streaming it the other day. I think I realized that that game is just, it's literally grocery store simulator, except you can open card packs. So all that
Yeah,
game
no,
is
it's
doing is it's feeding
Pokemon
your
card
addiction.
pack opening
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
simulator. It's addiction simulator.
exactly.
Yep.
It's
Totally is.
It's literally
it's
the
pretty
same
good
thing
though.
as
For an
the
addiction
grocery store
simulator, it's
simulator.
pretty good.
I actually didn't know anything about Grocery Store Simulator until I saw somebody playing this. And as a former like Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic card player, it's like, oh, I have to.
Yeah, it really. I've seen some live streams of it too, and it does seem to scratch the itch of like opening packs much better than I think actually like the
The
online
mobile
Magic
versions.
Arena or
Yep.
the other online things. Those don't feel as good when you open packs
Yeah.
because you're
Yep.
not opening real, like you're getting the fucking, like in Magic at least, and in the arena thing, like when you open them, like you just get like magic. You get just special. You get credits for a card. You're like, hey, here's a free uncommon. Go pick whichever one you want and turn it in for that. I'm like, that's not how packs work.
Yeah. No, I'm currently trying to gather as many of the cards as I can. I have like 4 display cases of the full art cards. I have a display case of like the special ghost cards. Yeah.
Addiction simulator.
And it's just
And it
something
doesn't.
like my shop's self-sufficient at this point, more or less. So it's just ripping packs and idly watching my money grow.
Hmm. Yeah, I've seen clips of people watching or opening those card packs, and then they'll get one that's like really valuable, and they just start screaming. It's like, this is what this game entirely is.
I think my most expensive one right now is like 2,000. I gotta check.
The one clip I saw was of someone who was Japanese, and it was like 1,000,000 yen. So whatever that translates to.
About 10,000. Yeah, that's
That's
one of
what
the
I
more
thought,
expensive
yeah.
ones.
That's $6,700 USD. I did appreciate the mechanic where I guess you can like spray down stinky people.
Yep.
I thought that was kind of amusing.
Yeah, I've got 2 cards that are worth 1,000. At least that aren't on display. I don't feel like taking all my ones out of display. I have 3 cleaning machines in my shop because people fucking stink. Because the bigger your shop gets, obviously, the more people come in. But if more than one stinky person comes in at a time, it doesn't always catch them. And I hate chasing them around. Because now there's a review. You actually have a shop review, like, app within the game to tell you, like, how it is. So you can, like... I like it because sometimes they'll say, oh, their prices are great. Or sometimes, like, they're overcharging for this thing. And it's like, shit, when was the last time I checked prices and, like, reset everything? Yeah, it's totally addicting. And I essentially just want to get to max level and sell all the things and make my shop look all fancy. What the fuck? Wait a minute. No. I don't think it saved last night after I did a whole rework.
Oh no, you'll have to quit.
You pulled a holographic Charizard though.
Oh no! I spent like 20,000 just to buy different shelves and shit.
All right, so I think everybody's here. All right, so obviously this is really the first time we're getting into play. I think you all have a good sense of kind of what this is, but um, and again, I did include.
Wait, what are we playing? I have no
Yeah,
idea.
exactly.
I thought we were just building this city and these characters.
We did it. Congratulations, we're done. Game's over. Y'all, I did include that player principles handout, so I would definitely encourage you to read that. But very narrative heavy game. We've played other stuff like it. I don't think it'll be a problem, but I will encourage you to, ask each other questions as they come up. I may ask questions continually as they come up. And if you're ever like wanting to frame a scene yourself when we're in like loose play, quote unquote, then, this game is not as what's the word I'm looking for? Systematized, structured as Blades in the Dark. Like I know that there's crossover there, but there's like loose play. Then we'll do an expedition. Then you'll return home. So it's got a little bit of that, but it's looser. So if you're ever like, hey, I want to frame a scene with so and so or in this place, like we can totally do that. But we're just going to kind of start off slow here. And as we know, spring has broken forth over the wider world and Stonetop in particular. Now, just because it's spring does not necessarily mean that it is warm and sunny, right? We may still have some gentle rains. We may still have the remnants of winter chasing us into the mornings and the evenings, right? Some light, but cold, light snows. Again, cold rains. We may still need fires again in the morning and in the evening. But as we are moving into spring, obviously, Stonetop is waking up once more. And unfortunately, waking up after a relatively bad night's sleep that was winter here. Obviously, we had our Crinwin attack and the raid that killed our friend and neighbor Jory, the farmer, leaving behind his daughter, Sienna, who has been adopted by our Marshal Killian. Um, some other people were, of course, hurt in that raid, but not more than anything, but let us not forget that the Crinwin have been getting a bit aggressive over the last months and maybe even years. They've been encroaching closer and closer to Stonetop and its surrounds from the Great Wood where they reside. After the supposed disappearance of the forest folk some 10 years ago. We have a new neighbor brought to us from the far south who is not quite a fiery priest, but definitely has some thoughts and feelings about things. And of course, we have our natives, the old one-eyed shrew, Ronwin, our heavy. We have, of course, our strange wildling girl in the form of Black Wolf, calling this place home, and let us not forget our hunter Reese, who has discovered some strange things in the wood as well, not just the Crinwin. But spring has broken forth over the town, and as it does so, people begin to rouse in that way after a cold, difficult, dark winter. The farmers are soon in the fields doing their sowing and clearing. The hunters and the trappers are, of course, soon out to the Great Wood to set their traps, and maybe less to immediately start hunting and more to start observing and seeing how the creatures of the wood have fared. Um, but we will sort of slowly start just by maybe framing a couple short scenes. And to start, Reese, I'm going to ask you something I think I meant to ask last week. So we had described that Cadel, the young pregnant woman who is Ronwin's air quotes friend and neighbor, is quite pregnant or getting to be quite pregnant with Tegan's children. Tegan, of course, was lost to us in some kind of strange accident in the wood, and Tegan was Reese's apprentice. So to that point, Reese, do you ever check in? Do you feel some sort of obligation to Cadel in any way? Do you check in on her?
Oh, absolutely. Not. I don't hover by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not in town often enough to really hover, but it's probably like the fourth stop every time I'm in town. Like, first go drop everything off at the tanner and at whoever's butchering it, if there's anything like that. Then drop off all of my gear, get a drink, and then check on her.
But this is a pretty regular occurrence, though. Like,
yeah, probably once a week or so.
Just once. Okay, once a week. Yeah. So you've been sort of watching her over the winter, and as we move into spring, as she's growing a bit with her babes. You can tell me. Do you think Reese knows? Ronwin does. Ronwin having been a midwife and having the tools that she has. Ronwin is aware that Cadel is pregnant with twins. Does Reese recognize that?
I don't think he would unless there's a history of twins in the town.
And I do not believe there is.
Yeah. Again, every animal's different.
I see what I did. Okay. Yeah, and just for just to describe Cadel a bit, she has thick brown wavy hair that flows down past her shoulders. She's very soft voice. She has these cute little dimples, and she has quite pale eyes, in a bit of contrast to her hair, in fact. But she tends to be quite calm and kind. She's quiet and just generally pretty soft. But she is also quite, as we've described, slight of frame. Cadel is a thin woman, kind of narrow-shouldered, if that helps paint a picture. So yeah, I was just sort of curious right now if Reese ever checked in, and you would see her as the pregnancy is evolving, and I'll also ask Ronwin, how often, if ever, does she check in on Cadel?
I think Cadel comes to Ronwin more than, like, if Cadel did not come to Ronwin's house at the edge of town so often, Ronwin would maybe once a week, especially maybe once a month at first, and then as the pregnancy progresses, it would go to once every 2 weeks, and now it's once a week when we're in the third trimester, right? But I think Cadel kind of just starts hanging, goes to see Ronwin a lot, just because Ronwin, I have this image in my head that Cadel lives in it's from a kind of rowdy, kind of big family, and it's busy, it's loud, and Ronwin lives on the edge of town where it's relatively peaceful. And Ronwin in general is just not a chatty person, and so I think Cadel eventually grows to just come to visit Ronwin to oh well, we made too much at home, so here's some stuff, and I'll have a checkup while I'm here. And Ronwin is okay, I'll check you up, that sort of thing. And I think my question is more that why wouldn't, and I've been thinking about why wouldn't Cadel just go to the regular midwife and
well,
instead
Erthel, in fact, I think does check on her every single day. As he checks on her, though, he goes to her.
Yeah, he goes. Yeah, so he goes to her, and I think Cadel comes to me instead of me going to her.
And it's
Partially because
also
I know that Earthfell goes there, so I'm like, I'm not. I don't know if I should be going into town that often.
and I think it's also a thing where like as much as she would not, and I'm trying to give Cato a bit of like Midwest vibes for those in the know. Like she may be from a big rowdy family, but she's pretty quiet usually. But I think also like she sees you as a friend because yeah, Erithfell is great and attentive, but he's also a man, right?
Yeah.
Like, and while he's competent in his responsibilities, he can't give her the thing that she desires most, which is that's sort of female companionship. Maybe she comes from a house of all brothers. She might be, the only female or the only one of age to be going through what she's going through.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say, you and Reese both have noticed over the past couple weeks, as the snows have thawed and brought us into early spring. Um, she's showing quite a bit. Again, she's about 6, maybe 6.5 months. She's shuffling a bit, which is typical. Um, but you think that this is fairly typical. She's not really complaining about anything else, but you do see her shuffling already. And I think Ronwin, especially, you're able to recognize like this is only going to get worse. Um, but she, especially after the cold winter, it's a little easier to move about now that the snows have melted. So she's maybe coming to. Does she come to your home, or do you think she comes to like wherever you might be working? Like, does she hang out while you're working? My instinct is to say like, if possible, like if you're home, she would. I don't know what. I guess what is like something Ronwin contributes to the town. I imagine her doing like some stitching, something where she's like because again, I'm going this Midwest. So she's like crocheting, she's knitting, like that's her kind of thing, and it's something she can still do while pregnant, right? So she probably brings some stuff with her if she comes to your home, so
Yeah,
that.
Ronwin lives around, I think, the bottom right F, that one.
Mm-hmm.
Is what I said last time, around those parts. And like Ronwin's got the animals near her, right? She's got the horses. And like she'll just like sit, like Ronwin has there's a lot of empty land, I suppose, and so like the air is nice, it's not so loud. I'm sure Katel will just sort of like come over and like chat at me or sit next to me quietly while she works on her embroidery, while Ronwin, I don't know, is like drying herbs, making tinctures, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. And she's probably, I assume, like Cadel is carries most of the conversation. Like you just sort of nod and grunt.
Yeah, that's it's more she's talking at me than like with me, but in like a nice way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean she's super pleasant, right? There's nothing about Cadel that isn't pleasant. Um, but I think occasionally you're noticing like as if you need to leave or like if she probably very rarely finds that she's outstayed her welcome because it doesn't occur to her. But if
Mm-hmm.
it does, or she needs to like get home, maybe it's getting later in the day, and her family will worry. Um, I think you've noticed that she kind of needs your help getting up out of the stool, right?
Yeah.
Wherever she's sitting, it's a little hard for her to stand up. So you kind of, and she's always very gracious and thanks you. She's also the kind of young woman who I don't know. I'm curious to know like if Ronwin would correct her, but she frequently catches herself. She's always referred to you as like Elder Ronwin.
Oh yeah, Ronwin would like cut that off right at the like, like like it's just Ronwin.
Mm-hmm.
It's just Ronwin. Is like calling someone elder something like the tradition of the town? Is it like the culture of the town to refer to like older
I
like
mean, it definitely
townsfolk as
could be.
elders?
I think she's trying to do it out of like a perceived respect for you, but we could
Right.
say like culturally that's not an uncommon thing.
Yeah, I think Ronwin would like nobody else calls her that, and she doesn't expect them to, and so like it's uncomfortable when Cadel does it, just because Ronwin partially also thinks like you don't need to be like lowering yourself to call me that. Like you don't need to show this pretense to me. I know no one's gonna call me it, and I probably don't deserve it. So just Ronwin is fine.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. So you're spending some time with her as the snows melt and spending some time with the animals. Everything seems like after a rough winter, like as you're just getting back into normal everyday spring life here in Stonetop. Um, let us. Who do we want to cut to? Let's cut. Yeah, let's say maybe go to you last. I think. Sorry, I don't know. Black Wolf. I think we see, as the snows melt. Like, where do we see Black Wolf as the snows start to bring? Because again, you're not a farmer. You don't do any sort of sowing or anything. So, how does Black Wolf start paying her, attention as the springs come?
She's at her apiary.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think she's checking on to see how the hives wintered. Make sure the queens are still safe. Make sure they've got plenty of honey in there to start. Again, because they're pollinators too.
Mm-hmm.
The better the hives, the stronger the hives, the better the harvest. So she's probably over there, kneeling in front of, maybe, I don't know how many apiaries there would be, maybe 2 or 3. And she's kind of got this very low hum as she's kind of not speaking to them in a literal sense, but it's her version of a smoker. Keeps the bees calm. They know what she's doing as she's kind of poking around, checking the comb, checking the queen, things like that.
Okay. And this apiary, I assume it's not hidden from the town, right?
No, but again, I think once I picture that maybe they had, like, she's built a third one, either from scraps of wood or taking parts of the old ones and kind of salvaging to expand that. But I think she's made adjustments to them, making sure they're facing the right way, so they get the sun in the morning, shade in the evening, that maybe the old ones weren't, to make sure that they're thriving.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they're at the outskirts of town, but probably closer to the fields, because again, it just gives them easy access.
Remind me, like, on the map, I think were you up? No, you were, which way, where were you?
Hang on, I have the principles open. Where the fuck's my mouse? I believe we said that she was going to be closer to the woods, kind of up over here.
Okay.
So I imagine the apiary is kind of over here at the start of the fields, kind of the still edge of town.
Okay. Yeah, so you probably see, if you're working at the apiary, you see the farmers out sowing their crops, sowing their seeds as they're doing their work. Um, what is Black Wolf's impression of Cassander as he's arrived, like, in the last fall? Because she might see him, like, headed out there, I assume, talking to some of the other farmers and getting to know them and things. Like, what is her impression of him?
I mean, she's wary as she always is with people in general, but I think there's a curiosity. Not only because of the new coming, to the town, being an outsider similar to her, but also I think their encounter right before the attack this winter, and then his faith of all things. Again, she knows Killian has his faith, but I think something about Cassandra's conviction speaks to her, but also with Amber Lee speaking out against him. And again, the old woman just kind of rambles at her when she's nearby. I think it's kind of piqued a curiosity, but also a hesitance.
Do you think, does, like, Black Wolf, I don't know how to ask the question, like, so you're saying, like, Amber Lee is kind of, like, almost ranting against him, but Black Wolf is still sort of curious because Amber Lee is so concerned?
I think it's actually more of a gut feeling. The same way Danu seems to call to her, Cassandra's deity speaks to him. And I don't think she really gets that from Killian. Like, yeah, Killian has his faith, but it's very different than having the god speak to you in a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of where she's curious, but wary. Because, again, Amber Lee speaks out about heresy.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, so you're kind of out there, and you can, I imagine you can see, in fact, Cassander kind of again going out, and you sort of watch him with a curious eye, and give thought to Amberly kind of warning you off of him.
Yeah, and I imagine like she's kind of sitting with her feet tucked under her, kind of cross-legged in front of the apiaries. She's kind of maybe finishing up on the last one, and she's got maybe one or two of them kind of just walking around on her fingers, poking about, and she's kind of doing that very low hum, not quite song, but kind of checking over on them. But her eyes kind of keep shifting over towards the fields, kind of seeing what he's doing, maybe straining her ears a bit to see what he's saying.
Yeah, so Cassander, you're as spring comes, I imagine you've got a little bit of work as the new smithy in town, but you can't give up on your work of documenting and chronicling the things of the town. So like, what do we see Cassander doing as the winter snows start to thaw?
I think I am, if people would let me. I can't get the farm hands to take time off, or people who they have their responsibilities. So like, I would go and walk alongside them as they're sowing fields and like try to talk to them and help out. Like if there was things that I could do to like help till the soil a little bit, I would, while I have the conversation, talk to someone for an hour, half an hour, and then move on to someone else. Like, okay, well, this was great, and we go, So I'm like putting in like, a sort of help. Like I'm there to help in order so that they will then be willing to talk to me. Like, yeah, I'm willing to put in some work, but I don't really know what I'm doing too much. I can dig some soil around, and but I think I'm trying to make myself useful to people, and to be so that they see me as someone to be, like, here for the good of the Stonetop, that I actually care about what happens here, that I'm not just trying to come in here and take control, or it's not about like, taking the authority of being the judge and then telling you all what you can and can't do and all this. It's like, I'm not here to be that scary. Like I am, like I'm not gonna leave if you don't like it. Like, that's not gonna happen, right? Like if you're like, we don't want one, it's like, no, I'm sorry, I'm here now.
Mm-hmm.
This is a thing. This is a reality. But I'm going to try to win you over through acts of kindness and stuff, and while I'm doing my job and getting to know people and making their records. So
I think, Cassander, that a few of the townsfolk, they, again, they're busy with work, but like, especially like later in the day after the work is done, there's a few folks who are curious enough about you. And I'm going to tell you now that one of the people that expresses more of an interest in you, and I don't know that Cassander would notice it necessarily being more, but I'm going to tell you that there is a man who we sort of introduced, but I finally named. His name is Price, Pryce. And Price is basically the guy that is on Killian. Well, Killian is on Price's shit list, right? Price doesn't like Killian because he was ousted from the crew, and he's got a history there. And I think that this man, he's kind of burly with like small eyes, fairly like balding, perpetual like 5 o'clock shadow, like a heavier set man, but like knows how to use it. Has definitely been kind of like trying to make inroads with you since you've arrived. And again, like, he's not being overbearing or anything, but it's just that thing where you both happen to be in the field at the same time, or you just happen to be at the public house at the same time. You might find that he sorry, Nat. He kind of approaches you maybe more often than others, and is happy to meet you and learn about you, and will, with some regularity, make comments like, we'll ask you questions about Aratus, and say things like, yeah, it's real good for you to come around town. We haven't really had much of a priest, and I mean, everyone here is of course faithful, I'm sure you can understand, but some more than others, if you take my meaning. And so it's good for you to to be here. And with your daughter, seems like she's doing pretty well.
Not all can follow the faith so diligently, but that's not it's not for everyone. Not everyone needs to.
No, but I mean it's
Yeah,
good. I mean it's good that we have a sort of divine source of
as
law.
long as there are some.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And yes, my daughter does seem to be, at least, she doesn't seem to hate it yet, which is good.
Yeah. I actually saw her. She was, I guess, spending some time with the marshal's daughter. And he's like, sorry, adopted daughter, but Sienna, I think is her name.
Yes, Sienna, the she was the daughter of the Jory, right?
Yeah, and he sort of does the equivalent of crossing himself. Yeah, poor Jory, we lost him over the winter, and
I wish I'd been able to speak with him before. I hadn't.
he was a
met
good
him yet.
man. He was a good man, good father. I just let you know. I mean, that girl, she's been through a lot, and well, town's been through quite a bit of darkness. Maybe you know about some of it, and I might just keep an eye on your daughter. Is all. Make sure you keep her close and safe. There's a darkness that seems to hover around certain people, and Marshall, being the Marshall, kind of finds him sometimes. Something to keep in mind.
Yes, well, the Marshal, I do have thoughts about him.
Well, don't we all? Don't we all? Well, I gotta get back to it. But I'm sure we will speak about things at another point. I'm sure. And he kind of like clasps you on the shoulder and seems kind of pleased, like he's making inroads.
Yeah, and I think as according to my teaching, I'm being like I think I sense a little bit of this guy's like disingenuousness. Like I doubt I'd be picking up on his like motives yet at an early. But I'm like, okay, he wants something from me. I don't know exactly what, but I can tell he's around. He's asking questions about Eratus, but it's always the kind of questions that seem to be like, how is this going to help him? And like it leads towards something. They're not just like, teach me about the things. He doesn't have that genuine interest.
Yeah,
so I'm happy to talk about it, but I understand that it's like oh, there's something here about this.
Yeah, you can definitely clock like it's like I'm trying to get you to talk so that you'll talk so that I can get through my thing. Like that's for sure what you're picking up. Yes.
I would think I probably don't know exactly what that is. Like, well, he's got something, and I will put up with him though because that is one of the teachings, to be hospitable.
And with that, I think we'll cut over to a scene with Killian. I guess Killian. So your wife runs the public house. You're the marshal. I imagine that I'm debating between scenes here for you. I think maybe, and I'm sorry, there's going to be so many NPCs. John, what is your wife's name?
Sydney.
Sydney. I imagine that this is maybe a conversation she has with you over like breakfast. You're like there in the house with, I assume, because you just live with your wife and the kids, right? You don't live in a big giant house with your extended family, right? Like your parents, or do they live there too?
No, we all kind of live in the same area, like along the wall by the woods. But we don't live in the same house. So it's me, my wife, my son, and Sienna.
Right, Merrick and Sienna. I think Sydney broaches you and says, "Hey, I don't know if," and I think she pulls you aside so you're not within earshot of the kids when she says it. The new priest in town, Cassander, he's got that daughter, Sophia. We were spending some time with her, just keeping eyes for a little bit the other day, and I don't know if it's getting worse. And she sort of gestures to Sienna, the two of them were kind of staring out over the wood, quiet, like neither of them were saying anything. They were just standing there. And I think you can tell Sydney seems a bit rattled. Like, she said they were fine and everything. They weren't in any danger. You know, we had eyes on them, but I just don't know. I think, and you know that she's talking more here about Sienna. Like, I mean, should we maybe talk to Amber Lee or talk to Airthfell maybe, or
Well,
you know, I think
obviously,
go ahead.
I was going to say, I can't speak for Sophia, but obviously we know Sienna's been through a lot. She never knew her mother. Her mother died, giving birth. So all she knew was Jory. She didn't have any siblings. So losing her father, I mean, that's something I don't want to think about myself. So I can only imagine the pain that she's going through. I'm open to bringing other people in. Obviously, we've been taking her to. I know it's not a temple, but I guess I would refer to it as temple. We've been going to temple and praying each week.
I know.
But if you think there's other people that we can bring this to their attention, I mean, I'm
Well,
open to ideas.
she seems really like reluctant. You can read it on her face. It's like, well, I mean, I'm more than happy to see if maybe, like I said, that Airthel might have some thoughts, but I was talking with some of our neighbors, and that old woman, the shrew outside of town, she's seen a lot. I mean, she's apparently got some skills with regard to herbs and stuff. I'm just putting it out there. I'm not saying we do it right away, but I'm just
Do
getting
you
real
want
worried.
her to hang out with the shrew?
Not spend time with. Come on, Killian. No, I mean just. If there's no other ideas, let's just talk to Airthel first, maybe, or Amber Lee. See if they have any thoughts, and I don't know. I just we've just been
I'm
through so
obviously
much.
open for ideas. I want her to get better. I want her to be. She's still a child. She should be, joyful, playing. I don't want this to be a burden. But we have to be smart about it.
Yeah, of course. I don't know.
I mean,
worry.
my father spoke to me about Ronwyn. I mean, yes, there are things that she can do for the city, which is probably the only reason she's back. But she was banished for a reason. We need to be cautious with that.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. We'll maybe send a time to see if we can get Airthel here or Amberley, and we'll go that route first. And I think she kind of like leads you back to the table, and you're able to like finish and talk to the kids and have your little familial breakfast before the day formally begins. And with that, I think we'll cut to Reese. So Reese, again, spring has sprung over Stonetop, and I will say, as a sort of introduction, that we know that Jory was killed in the attack. Kerwin also was hurt. I'm also going to tell you that, and Reese and everyone could probably know this. Killian would definitely know. Reese would definitely know, though, that another hunter. He's actually more of a trapper in town. His name is Andres, or Andres. I'll put that in chat for you.
Thank you.
Trapper. Andres is a trapper in town, and he's quite an established trapper. In fact, maybe one of the best in town. You're like the best hunter, but he's very good at not just trapping but tracking too. he was also hurt. He was actually wounded in the Crinwin attack. And Reese, this is especially important to you because, I mean, obviously the town needs its hunters and trappers. And Andres was wounded. His leg was clawed up pretty badly by one of the Crinwin. He's been in a splint and is walking around with kind of a crutch. And he's not going to be able to go out for a while. Now he does have a family, so I'm going to introduce a whole bunch of NPCs. I apologize about it, but that's the nature of the game. So Andres is the husband. His wife is named Bloodwin or Bloodwin. I don't know how to say it. He has a son, Austin, and he has a daughter named Briallen. I'll put those all in chat for you. Now, his children are both. Austin is about 12, maybe 13. Briallen is about 15. They are much like you were, Reese. They were sort of being trained in his skills so that they could carry over. But Austin is still quite small, even for his age. But he takes after his father in trying to be a trapper and tracking and whatnot. And Briallen is a bit of an archer, so she's got a bow and can hunt pretty well. But it's put a damper on the town because, again, with the hard winter we've just had, and now we're down another one of its trappers, Reese, you know that this is and there's other hunters and trappers, of course, but this endangers the town. This is a threat.
Yeah, it's a small enough town that each person is pretty vital.
Right, and because Andres was hurt, that's really gonna hurt the town. And he was training his kids, but they're still not quite of an age to be like fully out on their own. He's probably indicated to them to sort of stick to the outskirts of the wood near town, grab what they can. It's just going to have to be what it is. But, and I think also, Ronwin, you probably would know this as well, being a bit of a healer in town perhaps, or because Erithel said something to you, because he shouldn't have opened his mouth. Andres has developed a bit of a drinking problem after being wounded because he's bedridden, right? He was really hurt. Again, he's moving around, but barely. He's not really much used to the town right now. So he's developed a bit of an affinity for bending the old elbow. He spends a bit of too much time at the public house now. He's definitely nowhere near fully healed, and of course the drinking is not making the healing any better. So Reese, how well do you know Andres, and what was your relationship with him like?
I would imagine very well and very close. Again, we're both functionally hunters. Like, I still set traps. I'm just not as good as Andres. Mm-hmm. He still hunts. He's just not as good as me. So,
have you talked to him, or does he know anything about what you found in the wood?
I would imagine. Yeah, I said before I probably talked with one of the other better hunters. Andres would be the one who makes the most sense because he sees more of the small animals than me. Is it just hitting big game? Is it hitting? So yeah, he probably knows as much as I do.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so yeah, you are presumably, Reese, I would assume in the spring. Do you just immediately go out hunting, or do you have a sort of what is your protocol as spring hits?
Spring is light hunting season. It's more the preparation for everything that's to come. I see if the winter has knocked down trees, if watering holes have dried up, if animals have moved on, if there's a place in the forest that's completely bare and I have to not go to anymore. And then, of course, trapping things like squirrels that are coming out from hiding. Mm-hmm. Lots of small game, though. Nothing big, because this is when big game is pregnant.
Right, so you're just kind of scouting around, doing the preparatory work.
Primarily, yeah. Again, still some light hunting, and I'll happily hunt another predator. This is a good time to hunt bear. But I have no idea what kind of actual forest we're in, so I'm trying to be very vague about
There in fact are bears. There is in fact a known bear cave that is, I believe, a couple days from town, but typically it's far enough that hunters usually give it a wide berth, and unless there are other bears that find their way a bit closer to home. Um, but yeah, there's plenty of good game, and like you said, more small game this time of year. But occasionally you can find some other stuff. um, so uh, so Reese, I think you are. I'm gonna say you are maybe returning home after like some morning scouting, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think you are met at the edge of town by Bloodwind. And she is again Andrus's wife. Um, she's probably in her 40s and a sturdy woman for sure. Some might describe her as stern, but you know her. You've known her for many years. She's just protective. She's protective of her family, um, and but she can put on definitely a mean appearance when she needs to. But you see her kind of waiting there at the edge of town, nearest the entrance to the Great Wood. And I think you immediately clock that she's got a bit of a shake about her, right? She seems a bit nervous. She's a little on edge. And
Now what?
she sees you coming back up, and you can sort of see, like, as you're far enough away, she kind of like raises a hand above her brow to get a good look at, better look to see. She's like, I think she kind of yells out. She's like, "Austin, boy, that you? I can't see
Just
you."
me, Bloodwind.
Oh,
Just me.
Reese. Oh, welcome home. Any chance you saw my boy?
Nah, I was a little bit deeper in the wood. I wouldn't have seen him. He should be close to home still.
And she kind of nods. Yeah, that he should. That he should. I'm sure he's probably just got himself tripped up. I'm sure he'll be home soon enough.
He just sighs, just goes to turn on his boot.
She's like, "Wait, no, hang on. What are you doing? Don't."
I'm a little bit. You know why I gotta go back out, don't you?
Well, wait a second. Wait. Hang on. He's only been gone a few hours. It's fine. I mean, Bree Allen, they just got separated, and
Why'd they get separated?
she went off to track something, and he was setting up his traps. You can come talk to her. I'm sure she's planning to go back out, or she wants to.
Yeah, that's probably wise. Figure out where to start. How's he holding up? As he walks up to be alongside her and go to her. I imagine he knows where she lives, but at the same time.
Yeah. You're asking about like how Andres is, like her husband?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, he's just in a lot of pain, Excuse me. And remember, like, if you think there's something, you want to, make a move here again, you should, again, realistically here, you should not be saying, like, can I do what? That's what you should be doing. But if you're looking for information, maybe, about him, because I think your read of her is like there's something she's not telling you. I think that's probably clear.
Yeah, I will straight up say, again, you said he's been drinking. This is not something I imagine has been hidden all winter. Is he getting violent?
Yeah, go ahead. I think let me I'm going to say go ahead and roll Seek Insight. Let's have our first roll. Well, technically second roll after. So yeah, go ahead and roll Seek Insight. Should be plus Wisdom.
Where
I think
in
if you
the
just
nine
click,
hells is that?
it's
There we
under
go.
your basic moves. So I should be there. 8. Okay, so that is a weak hit. So you get to ask one of those questions. And again, we've played other PBTA games. If there's something here that like doesn't, quite apply, we can just go with other questions. And you already sort of asked the question you want to know. And I think she looks at you and she kind of averts your gaze at first, and she kind of shrugs, and he's just getting kind of mean, And now
I'm going to take a close look to make sure she's not hiding a bruise.
you don't get the sense from her physicality that he's struck her, but he's getting pretty angry and just falling into his cups a bit too much. And she continues on. She's like, and since Austin just hasn't been taken to trapping quite like his dad, and now of course with the Bree saying she saw something in the wood, and she shrugs. I don't know.
Wait, Bree said she saw something in the wood too?
We should get inside.
We really should.
And I think if anyone else wants to have like been nearby to have seen this, that's okay. You can do that. But you head inside and you see that Andres is not here. He's probably out drinking somewhere at the public house or at the edge of the wood or God knows where. But you do see her daughter is here. Bree again. She's like 15, maybe 16. She's sitting down on a chair. And she's got her bow on the floor, and as a hunter that she would normally be like putting her foot in to string it up, but it's already strung, and she's almost leaning on it. And you see, Reese, that sorry, she's been like shaken a bit, and the reason you can see this is like her bow, which she's leaning on with her weight, has sort of like pushed either the dirt or whatever away on the floor. And it's like almost carved a little hole from her kind of like spinning it nervously. And Briallen looks up as soon as the door opens. She's like, Austin? And she stands up from the chair and she sees that the two silhouettes of you and Bloodwind. Oh, Mom. And Bloodwind just nods and kind of points. And you know this child, right? You're a hunter. She's a hunter.
I imagine I'm one of the people teaching her to shoot.
Right, exactly. Like, Andres would do most of that, but yeah, you would definitely help when, if you see her doing target practice or something for sure.
Look at the bow. Give that disapproving look that all teachers know how to give because she's wearing it.
Right. It's like dry firing. She actually grabs up the bow and like puts it off to her side in the way that she knows she's supposed to when you're there. She's like, "Oh, how would she refer to you? Would she just call you Reese, or would there be something else?"
I imagine, no, just be Reese. There's no fancy. This is not the kind of town where I think ceremony gets stood on very often.
Yeah, she's like, "Oh, Reese, what?" And I think Briallen, you see her face drop as though your presence here means something that it maybe doesn't.
So, heard your brother went missing. Heard you saw something. Where do you want to start?
And she looks, she's a teenager, so she's not that bright. Start what?
Start talking.
Oh. And Bloodwind goes over and gets like a couple cups and pours out some clean water or juice or something like it for you. And we were out, we were on the edge of the wood, and there were I thought I saw a boar. Didn't seem like the right season for him, but I told Austin, I said, just stick around right here, set up some more traps. We were together. We always are. And then I went and started trying to track the boar a bit and seeing where it was going. And
then he wasn't there.
Yeah. I mean, Austin, I don't know. I came back and he was gone. And he actually dropped a couple traps right there on the ground, and she pulls them out of her pocket, like they're like little rabbit traps, like little strings that he was tying off. And I went looking for him. I really did, Reese. I swear.
I know. Don't. Here to find out where I should start looking for him, just in case. We both know there's some bad stuff in the wood.
She might be the child might be a little bit more ignorant. I mean, she knows there's Crinwin out there, but maybe you or Andres has kept some things from her. And
I wouldn't actually say what the bad things are.
Right.
Just that they're there.
And Bloodwind just looks at you and is like, you can't go in there alone.
I always go in there alone.
No. She's like, with all the... And she like looks at her daughter, and her daughter looks up. She's like, with the attack and everything, it's not safe.
No, it's not. It's why you are supposed to stay very close to this town.
She's like, I didn't stray that far, I swear.
How far is that far?
She's kind of shrugs. I don't know, a mile or so? I mean, more? I don't know. I tracked the boar for a while. And as this is happening, I think you hear, and again, anyone else in town is able to hear this, especially if you're near the center of town. Andres from the center of town starts yelling, like he is fully drunk. And
It's noon.
it's noon, and he is fully drunk. And he is yelling in town, "Where's that blasted son of mine, huh? Gotta get him out there. God, spring already. We should have caught some stuff by now." And he's like making a ruckus in the middle of town, like as he's like crutching his way home. Who is there to hear this?
Well, something I want to kind of mention, and I think I probably should have did this when it was my original turn. I think ever since the Jory episode, I have put my crew on a rotating watch. They basically work in 8-hour shifts, and they work in pairs. So 2 of them are on shift at any given time. If it is noon, right now it's Morgan and Colton that are on patrol.
John wrote a schedule.
Oh, I did. Yeah, from
Of course he did.
From sunup to midday, it's Morgan and Colton. Midday to sundown, it's Zane and Wyatt, and then in the evening, it's Sawyer and Boone, because they don't sleep very well.
Right.
Sawyer has nightmares and shit like that. So,
so it's Morgan and Colton. So
but yeah, I would imagine that because they patrol, that they're keeping an eye on the farm hands and whatnot that are guarding the town right now. But also, obviously, it's our jobs to patrol, make sure that the town's running smoothly and stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah, so Morgan and Colton are the ones then, your crew, who hear Andres yelling in town as they're doing their patrols, and they approach him. And basically, mechanically, John, I believe how this is intended to work is you can make moves through your crew. So if there's something you want them to do, you can be like, I believe you can roll for them is the intention.
Well, I would definitely have them approach the situation, see what's wrong, see what's going on, especially if he's causing a ruckus. That's,
Yeah, I think they're able to discern, like, he's drunk, he's angry, and he's barking about, like, his son. And I think unless there's maybe a move to make here, but they won't be able to likely get much use out of him just because he's so irate and drunk, inebriated.
So I think what they would try to do is talk him down to a obviously he's not going to sober up, but de-escalate the situation and maybe try to bring him indoors.
Do you
if
think
it's not his home, at least? Go ahead.
I do think the noise has kind of drawn Wolf's attention, especially after the attack.
Mm-hmm.
So she might be just kind of peeking out, peering around like a building or something at the noise.
Okay. Killian, do you think you would have them, like, when you say get him inside, do you mean like get him home?
If that would be best case scenario. If he's intoxicated, they would try to get him home. Hey, sleep it off. If there's, if he has a genuine issue, where's my son, blah, blah, blah. They can say, yeah, we'll look for your son. We need to get you in a safe place. There's some genuine concerns amongst the people right now. We need to get you to.
Okay. So I think that's a persuade versus NPC, because he does have a reason to resist because he's drunk and irate. So I think that's for you a charisma roll.
Okay. Am I clicking in the wrong place?
Well, you can just click to persuade versus click on the move itself.
Oh, okay. It's on the left-hand side. I was trying to click where it said charisma.
I did it too.
Yeah, you should really be able to do that. It surprises me that you can't, but yeah, if you just click the move. Whoa!
Nicely done.
Nice. Okay, so say what you want them to do, which you have. Get him inside. Get him to calm down. 10 plus. They either do as you want or reveal the easiest way to convince them. And I think at this point, the crew's here, the guards are here. He's like, all right. God, nobody's any fun anymore. And I think Morgan and Colton escort him home. and we'll find the scene where Reese is there, and Black Wolf, you're welcome to like follow. I wonder if is Black Wolf doing the sort of like hiding in shadows along people's houses to follow, like, or is she just like letting this go and not getting involved?
No, I think she's following mostly because like where's the sun? Like she's kind of, and I imagine again because she was trying to strain and kind of overhear what was going on with Killian and things like that. Like she's kind of like, is something up? Like there might be like a gut feeling here that something's up that she's following. So she's kind of doing that thing where she's slinking along the edges of the buildings, keeping low, and kind of that gate that crawl that she does essentially.
Right, the loping crawl that you described. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm debating if. The stakes aren't high here, so no. You can just do that. So yeah, they bring Andres back home, and they find Reese and Bloodwind and Brielle there. Reese, the door suddenly opens, and Andres sort of lumbers in first, and he almost falls, and Bloodwind actually catches him. Because again, she's strong enough to do it, but he still weighs a lot, and his immediately you're struck with the scent of the alcohol on his breath, like he's been drinking. Brielle sort of instinctively like backs up as he's like almost falling into the house, and Bloodwind looks at Morgan and Colton, like, oh, what did he do? And John, you're welcome to like role play one of them if you like. So I'm not talking to myself.
Yeah, basically, he's just causing a scene. I think he might be a bit intoxicated. I think he's looking for his son, though. So we just want to get him home, and then, we could take a look around. Do you happen to know the last time you've seen him?
And like Bloodwind sighs visibly, like she's like, and she blanches, like, oh God, now the town's getting involved. And Andres, I think sort of like, as he barely catches his feet, as Bloodwind catches him, he sort of like half drunkenly lunges for his daughter, and he yells out like, "Where is he? Where'd you lose my son?"
I will absolutely have a hand, like, bodily block him. Andres?
Okay. Do you want to... I think this might be a roll. Could be persuade if you're just... Or if it sounds like it physically blocking him.
Yeah, this is defend, I think. Take up a defensive stance, jump in to protect others.
If you wanted to, you could do defend, sure, yeah. That works. Go ahead and roll plus con. 7, so you hold 1 readiness. I think you do not have a shield.
I do not have a shield.
So you can draw all attention from your ward. I assume that's what you're trying to do.
Yeah, I leave the little girl alone.
Right, and he starts to lunge for her and sees you get in the way. Is like, he sort of grabs you by the lapels for a second and realizes like who you are, like in his drunken state. Reese, brother, you should come drinking with me. What? Why are you in my house?
Andres, just coming back from doing a bit of scouting. Was hoping to find out how the trap saying was going, but you seem to be short a son.
Yes, yeah, I am. You didn't see him? My daughter lost him.
Your daughter is too good to lose him. Mind you, he's good enough to lose her.
Well, probably out there getting himself killed.
I hope not.
He's thick skull. Doesn't learn anything from me anyway.
You're drunk.
He's drunk, and he kind of like limps over to a nearby. There's probably like a bed in this room. Again, these houses are fairly small, and he kind of like lumbers and almost falls into the bed. He's like, "No use. You know what's out there. He's probably not coming home alive." And
Andres.
When he says it, Brielle and Bloodwind like both gasp. Bloodwind, like, you see Brielle starts to cry, and the mother just like looks furious.
Fuck.
I think Killian, I'm
I can't
assuming...
do a Gareth of Rivia impression, but that's what it is.
Yeah, I think...
Fuck.
Killian, I assume, would Morgan and Colton at this point, like, would they want you to get the marshal, like, hey, we got a lost kid?
Yeah, any kind of thing, like an all points bulletin thing, I would definitely get involved. So.
Okay, so yeah, I think maybe Morgan stays here, and she sends Colton back to you to say, like, go get the marshal, let him know what's going on, so you can be alerted. Um, yeah, and I assume like maybe other folks, and again, Black Wolf, you're just like sort of out of the window, eavesdropping on this situation. You can have heard this. Um, the I imagine it's probably getting to be about lunchtime, and like some folks are coming in from the fields to like take a break, get out of the little heat there is in the spring, um, just get some water, get hydrated and fed before they go back out for the rest of the day. But so they kind of come into the center of town. Killian, Morgan, or Colton comes and lets you know what's going on. I'm trying to figure out like how does Cassander react like when I assume like I don't know how word spreads about this exactly. I'm trying to figure out how to get Cassander involved.
I mean, since that he was near Wolf, if he sees her slinking about.
Could be.
Again, she's literally kind of sitting underneath the windowsill, kind of peeking up, and like, again, she's got like the nose going, she smells the alcohol and kind of flinches back, and is.
I suppose if it's around midday, I could be walking with one of the farmhands for like the midday break. They're heading back to the public house for saying like, all right, but like I did some things with the person. I'm out doing field work now. I'm going to talk to this guy on his lunch, and then I'll talk to someone else after. And then as we're walking to the public house, we see this commotion.
Yeah, I think word's going to start to spread pretty quickly that like. Apparently some kid got, somebody's son got lost in the wood again, right? Like rumor will start to spread slowly around the public house, like, because, they see the crew starting to move and that indicates something's going on. So, yeah, you're all learning in your own ways that, like, apparently a boy's gone missing in the wood. So, how would you all like to, I don't know.
Are there any birds about?
It's spring. I mean, sure.
Yeah, I think kind of standing up tall, again, she's like 6'2". Hearing that there's a missing child, she kind of looks around and for the smallest bird, just, starts like, you hear that kind of mimicry to get the bird's attention. And I'm going to use Spirit Tongue.
Natural beasts. You can always ask the GM what spirits are active here. Get an honest answer. Okay, so this is also weird because I wonder if I should have gotten clarity in the rules about this. But yeah, oh, that's right, Ronwin. I'm sorry, I forgot about you.
Oh, yep.
I forgot about the shrew. How could I forget about the shrew?
It's okay. I'm not in town. They don't
Cato
tell
brought
me
the news to you. She's gossiping with you.
Oh
like,
yeah,
like
Cato would be
commotion
such
happening.
Yeah.
That would work really well.
Yeah.
She is the
like,
Midwest
Mom would
girly,
be
like
who?
gossip.
Who are we talking?
Who the troll?
Who? Who are these people?
So for Black Wolf, the thing I'm debating is I assume that there's still a role here because you were trying to get some information from the bird, I assume?
Yeah, essentially, have you seen children in the wood? Like recently. Yeah, human children in the wood. And if depending on like, does the bird come down to me or anything, I'll like indicate to the girl and it's like, there was another with her. Did you see anything?
Let's see.
Or what did you see?
I don't know if this needs a roll. I'm sorry that this is like a weird situation.
I mean, I figured it would either persuade NPC, quote unquote, or seek insight.
When you press or entice an NPC, yeah, those were the two that like. Oh, let's see. I think it's more like seek insight. Yeah, go ahead and make me a plus wisdom roll. I might review this and think because it might just be like a fortune. Oop.
There we go.
There you go. Okay, you got an 8. So that's one question. And again, are you just asking
what should I be on the lookout for? Essentially, I'm asking which way did the kid go?
It's the true answer. I'm giving you a true answer, but it's probably going to sound a little shitty. But the bird would respond with like Crinwin.
I'm not sure I understand the answer.
Like the bird, when you're saying like what do you need to be on the lookout for, like the bird is telling you like it's the Crinwin. It's like what
Crinwin took the kid.
Crinwin, yes, the Crinwin seem to be involved somehow. Possibly in the boy's disappearance.
We look for Crinwin.
I'm gonna sigh, and then I'll just kind of like carefully step around into like the doorway of the public house. Kind of stare at everybody for a minute. The
Yeah.
Crinwin, have him.
Bloodwind jumps. Who? What?
Wolf.
Oh,
Crinwin.
where did she come from? And like looks to you, Reese, like
She does that.
okay. And I think Brie Allen's like, that's it, I'm going. And she like picks up her bow and she like puts it over her shoulder and she intends to like push through to the Great Wood.
Black Wolf does not move. She just kind of crosses her arms and looks to Reese. We go?
Need more than us if it's the Crinwin.
Something that I'm able to do. I have a playbook thing where it's called logistics, and if I were to try to get, I guess, like a hunting party together to go look through the woods, I don't know, would that qualify as muster or pull together? Because I would get advantage on that roll.
Well, it's, I think based on the language, muster is when you're defending the steading, and pulling together is when you're working on improvement, secure new resources to make major repairs. I think the language suggests no. And to be clear, just mechanically, what this is, I'm introducing an expedition for all of you to go on.
Oh, okay. So the home front moves are almost like downtime moves.
Yes.
Okay. Because I was
All right.
looking at that too. I saw muster and pull together, and I was like, oh, that seems like what we need, right? Like muster some people together. But that makes sense if it's
Well,
more.
I'm going to send my sister to get the rest of the crew then.
Yep, she can do that.
And I'm gonna look at Wolf because I know she knows the wood, if nothing else. So I'd have no problem.
Even if she doesn't have the tact to not like say this in front of
Yeah.
everybody.
If we're fighting the Crinwin, we need someone who can fight. I'll be right back.
And I'll step out of the way for you,
Yeah.
but then like step in
And
front again. So
as
the
I'm
girl
leaving,
can't
I'm gonna look at the little girl. You are going to stay here.
No, Reese, I know the wood. You gotta let me. It's my fault.
It's not your fault. I know you know the wood. Not the point. Someone, if I'm going and we're bringing a bunch of people out there, we need someone who can shoot to stay here. That's you.
I think Andres sort of in like his drunken stupor. He's like half asleep. You just hear him mutter like, "Oh, useless girl, useless."
A deep rumble comes from Wolf's shafts. Again, very wolf-like, and she kind of bares her teeth at him.
Yeah, he just rolls over and continues snoring.
We both know you can shoot better than he can.
And yeah, Briellen's like, her eyes are still wet from tears, and Bloodwind's like, she looks to you, Reese. Just bring him home safe, please.
And he'll sigh, like, you see him, like, very awkwardly touch the back of his head because he can't make that promise.
Right.
But he wants to.
Mm-hmm.
And he just pat her on the shoulder as he's on his way out to go get a little bit of heavy help.
Go get Ronwin.
Yeah, functionally.
All right, so it's about noon or just after. I presume, unless Ronwin has reason to like resist and be like, "No, I'm not going to help you."
Ronwin's going to
People ask-
interfere in our plans.
If people ask Ronwin to help, I think she's used to Reese like coming up and being like, all right, we got something bigger we need to like take down or bring back, like, or I think like people remember the time that she killed the what is it, that the Hager
hag,
in the
yeah, the
foothills, the hag, and so like she's used to people coming up to her and being like, hey, there's a big we need someone to kill something, and the you should do it. And she's just kind of just like very quietly like shrugs and picks up whatever's around her and like goes with them.
So I guess my question here is like, Reese, how do you, when you approach her, is it like trepidatious? Like, hey, like if we want to play out
No.
this scene,
Yeah, no. Just my first question is, has Tegan's lady gone home?
no, she's
I
still
think
there. No, Kato's, I assume Kato's still there.
Kato's still
like
there.
lunchtime, right? I think me
Yeah.
and Kate are having lunch, and she's like mid sentence telling me about this kid who's missing.
Yeah.
Clink, like knock,
Literally just explaining
push
to me
open
like,
door.
who this person is.
Knock, knock, push open door. Oh, Cato, Ronwin.
Oh, hello, friend Reese. Hello. And this is Kato. She's like, she's smiling, and again, like sitting down. She, you see, like, you might notice like her swollen ankles a bit, and you know,
I got her a cushion. She's like elevating them.
oh yeah, she's so good, so cute. She's just sitting there, and the two of them are eating together. Would you like to join us for lunch? We were just chatting.
No, can't, unfortunately. Ronwin going into the wood, going hunting for Crinwin. Could use your help.
Kind of raises one eyebrow over the eye that's not there, and looks at Hadel, looks at him. It's about that kid.
Mm-hmm.
Kato's like, wait, what? The Crinwin got him? They didn't say that.
That's the suspicion. And that's what we're gearing for just in case. Hopefully he's just stuck in a tree and fell asleep.
Oh, I hope so. And you see Kato sort of like almost unconsciously like rubs her belly a bit, like in a defensive posture, like I want to take care of my children.
Ronan kind of just scoffs and says like, "You better keep that kid out of any trees. Kadel could end up like him. Let's get you home and let me get my things and I'll head out. Meet you by the edge of the woods."
I'd imagine before I left, I'd have been smart enough to figure out where the hell the kid went missing first.
Yeah.
Hopefully my character is smarter than me. And I'll go this one. Meet you there.
Yeah. I will like see Reese out and then like pack some ointments and like a cold. I don't know how. Ice. Is there ice? I don't think there's ice.
There's not ice,
But, like, maybe like some ointment. I'll like pack up Katel with it. And I'll like walk her basically like to where it starts like the road going into town from where I am.
Mm-hmm.
Just so she like can get home.
She's like, oh, don't worry, I can get home on my own. I'll be okay. You'll be safe out there, okay? And she like goes in to like hug you.
I think Ronwin like doesn't move. Kind of just awkwardly pats her like Ronwin's a pretty tall woman. Just kind of pats her on the shoulder like, all right, that's. And just remember to keep the ankles elevated. You don't want to be walking around like, well, you've got rocks tied to them. Can't be comfortable.
And she just like chuckles. Okay, I'm sure. Maybe we'll see. I'll see you tomorrow.
Ronald just grunts and like walks over and walks off. Like go find like a stick or something to go beat stuff up with.
Yeah, just find a heavy rock. It's all you need.
Yep.
All right, and presumably you guys all, I assume, are meeting at the edge of the wood, or is there another like anything else you want to do before we get to that point?
Before we actually head into the woods, I guess once we pair up and we're all kind of like outside, I am gonna at least give my crew a little speech. When I am patrolling town and things like that, I wear my shield on my back, and that's the one with the sign of Hellier.
Mm-hmm.
And I take it into my arms, I take it into my hand, and I lift it up, and I say, by the blessing of Hellier, let's find the boy and get back safe. And that's should add 1 loyalty, whatever that does. But
Yep, that's a resource you can spend, I believe, for your crew. Now, I do have a question for you, Killian. Do you bring your entire crew, or do you leave anybody behind?
I think for something like this, especially being daytime, I think I would take the whole crew. because again, we're not defending the walls. We're not the people on the towers and stuff like that. We're law enforcement.
Right.
We're the ones that control in the
For
town.
now.
For now. Okay, that's fine. Now, what we're gonna do is this is where we won't unfortunately be able to get into the expedition today, but I think we can start to like walk into the moves a little bit because there are some moves that we start out with. So I think we should do that now. So to clarify, yeah, the weather today, thankfully, you may bless my rolls. It is a fine, sunny spring day, but it's a bit windy, which can be bad, as the hunters know, right? Depending if you're upwind or downwind. But otherwise, weather-wise, going into the wood should not be difficult. So if you look at the move, we're first going to start with the move chart a course. So even though it's in the Great Wood, it's right there, you still need to chart a course for an expedition, even if it should be a short one. This is... you're going into the Great Wood. So when you wish to travel to a distant place, name or describe your destination. And in this case, if you look at the move, I think the language includes it. It says wherever the tracks lead. So you're basically trying to track down the boy. And then I will tell you what's required, the risks, and how long it will likely take, which I already have plotted out. And then I will present basically challenges along the way as you are looking for the boy. Obviously, if there are any questions here, please don't hesitate to stop me. I know these are new mechanics. So I will tell you a couple of the requirements and challenges. So the requirements, you really ideally want a competent tracker here, right? Now, is Reese a tracker or not?
Yes.
I mean, yes, technically. But in the future, I might say something like you need an expert tracker, which is probably not you. Just as a clarifying thing. But for now, you just need a competent tracker.
I literally have the playbook move expert tracker.
Well, in that case, you are an expert tracker.
Shit.
That's
Shit, I
just,
guess
it's cheating. I quit. I'm done. I'm done running this.
Oh no, he has an ability.
Yes.
Damn.
Okay, so you are a competent tracker. It will, I'm assuming this is going to take at least a day, and that's there and back, because you're going to have to go find him.
Yeah.
And it might be possibly more days if you can't find him, but again, I'm expecting it to take at least a day. For challenges, you'll need to watch out for the Crinwin. You know that. You risk drawing attention from the... I'm calling this thing right now the lumbering creature. This is the thing Reese found in the wood that we don't have. You don't have a name for yet. I think I have a name, but the thing that you saw that maybe dropped its dung on you, that may or may not be an egg, we'll find out. And this should be less of an issue because you have Reese, but you might risk getting lost. The wood is big. I mean, it is large. Reese knows this, but getting lost can still be a threat there. So those are some requirements and challenges. I pretty intentionally am trying to make this one a little simpler, so keep that in mind. So this is charting a course. Now, let's see if this is where we... So our next thing is to outfit. So when you prepare for an expedition in a friendly community, obviously Stonetop is friendly to you, this is where you guys are going to mark slots on your inventory as you wish to carry. So this is pretty much Blades in the Dark as you understand it, with the exception that there's 3 for a light load, which is quick and quiet, 4 to 6 for a normal load, or 7 to 9 for a heavy load. But remember, a heavy load is noisy, slow, and quick to tire. So if you're heavy, that literally means, you're going to be quicker to tire. That can also be a real problem if it's too hot. You can actually go quick to tire if it's too hot and you have a heavy load. So keep that in mind. Right now, heat should not be so much of an issue. And again, I know these sheets are this might be a little tricky, but we'll see. So each of you will basically select your load for this. 3 or light load, normal load, or heavy load.
What's normal again?
4 to 6. 4 to 6 boxes basically gives you 4 to 6 to select from.
I should have put gear on my sheet.
And by the way, I haven't added all of it, but if you all would, I don't know if I can show this to you. Let's see. Maybe I can. Maybe I can't actually. If you guys go into the compendium packs in Foundry, so it's the farthest thing right next to the settings gear. Maybe you don't even have the settings gear. Do you guys all see a little thing that says gear?
Yeah.
Yes.
Click on that. It's going to open a new window. Think of this as like an SRD from Roll20. It's the same thing. The nice thing here with Foundry, just like with Roll20, you can just drag and drop these things into your sheet. Again, I haven't added everything, but I've added the things I think for now you may want. There's some other things, obviously. And I think I have a... Did I add a PDF? What's that?
Moves
Where's
and
the
gear,
gear?
yes.
Sorry, KT, what did you say?
Where's the gear?
Well, no, you're looking for the box that says Compendium Packs. And then it's next to where the playlists are in Foundry.
Oh.
I didn't think a
Oh.
lot of this stuff was available. I literally took a playbook thing because it said some of this stuff was like really rare.
No, I think these things I added are should be common, I believe. And like I said, you should be able to drag and drop these right in your sheet. Again, there's other gear and moves like Mel pointed out has other gear. So if it's not in there, I haven't added it yet. But you can go into the gear and moves, and you'll find a page in that PDF that has all your gear. I think it's all the way down almost.
I do have a question.
Mhm.
Do our what the hell were they called? Special possessions count as gear? Because like
I do not believe
composite
so.
bow is under weapons of war, and I've got one.
I believe that stuff does not count against your load. So if it comes to you in your special
Okay.
possessions, you just have it, I believe.
Cool.
Again, if we're making a comparison to Blades of the Dark, which isn't quite fair, but I think it's like those things in Blades where your playbook has certain things. I think
Yeah,
that's
the
what's...
things that are in italics in Blades.
Exactly, you got it. Those things you always have access to. And remember that with this thing, so you decide how many boxes to mark on your inventory sheet, and thus how heavy a load you'll carry. Mostly a character's load just informs the fiction in your GM moves. Small items don't count towards a character's load. They might, they're things that could fit in a purse or a boot with room to spare, like a few coins, a tinderbox, a knife. Those things you can just have. We don't care about load for small things like that. Except the player can mark a number of small boxes in small items equal to 4 plus the settings prosperity. So each of you gets, I think prosperity starts at 0, I think. So you just start with 4, so you can always just take small items, but that doesn't count in your larger load.
There's nowhere to mark the load.
I don't think so, unfortunately, on the sheets. That's one thing that these sheets don't have. Well, no,
On
there is.
equipment,
Yeah, they do.
yeah,
On the left
underneath
side, yeah. There's
damage.
light, normal, and heavy.
Like to mark how many
It doesn't.
slots do I have?
It doesn't.
Yeah,
You're right.
but-
Yeah.
It just says if you. Okay, that's fine.
Now the
Where
thing is with this game, this is unlike Blades, I think, in that this is where things are going to get a little tricky. I'm deeply suspicious, which is fine. I think in this game it's intended, unlike Blades, that you do select the things you want before you go. However, you can. There's an undefined section in a character sheet. So there's a move that each of you should have called Have What You Need. This is going to be under expedition moves, I'm thinking?
Yeah.
Yes. So when you decide that you had something all along, you can transfer a mark from your undefined inventory to a specific item or slot. If you mark a slot, fill it with a common mundane item or something from your special... Oh, from your special possessions. Oh. So you don't just have special possessions? We're going to say...
I ask.
Well, we're going to say for now you do. I might have to review it with... I'll check on the Discord and see what they have to say, because that's odd to me. But it must be something you had all along. So this is kind of using a Blades mechanic to be like, oh, I had this thing. But you can also bring with you stuff now, and you mark off the things like, I'm bringing a sword, I'm bringing armor, I'm bringing torches, whatever.
How many dots counts as heavy load?
7 to 9.
7 to 9. Okay.
Yeah, I am under the impression we are probably going to be in a fight, but I also can't be slowed down, so I'm going for normal load.
Okay.
And
I'm
I will
also
figure
doing
out
normal.
equipment.
Same.
Question.
Yeah, I did normal.
Would I be able to get a weapon of war, or do I need to ask if someone will let me use a mace?
We're not supposed to give her weapons, you guys.
She
Give a
is the
murder.
weapon.
I don't
Once
think that's
we get
up to
outside
me.
the city.
Yeah.
We'll bring it, but we won't hand it to you until we're well
Yeah.
outside.
I think that would be a good
Red
rule
Bull.
outside of the city. I think the marshal would make a ruling on that. Outside of the city is fine, but you must turn it back over before you enter the city.
That's fine. Yeah, I probably, like, when I see you on the expedition, I assume someone's gonna give me something to hit shit with. So that's
you
why I
have
did not take it as a special possession, because I was like, I'm probably not allowed to have this.
Do you have a preference? Because Reese would absolutely grab it for you like every time he asked for your help.
Oh, I'll take an axe or a mace.
Bear mace.
Bear mace.
I'd bring you an axe every time.
Thanks.
They're more useful out in the woods.
Not supposed to chop the trees, I thought.
You're not supposed to chop the trees, but you definitely need to chop firewood and kindling.
And anything that's already dead and fallen, you can take. That's per the compact with the forest folk.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you guys can select items printed on the inventory insert, any common mundane items, any of your special possessions. So the language here does seem to imply that you do have to mark off your special possessions.
That's part of your load, but
Yeah.
you just have access to them.
It does also seem like the have what you need is there's no limits on it, right? Like it doesn't say you can only use half of your things as undefined, or it doesn't. Maybe there's more to it, but I'm not seeing any like limitations on other than like does it make sense that you actually had that item? But like in terms of picking.
I think it's the words of common mundane. So if it's anything besides that, you need to, like the weapon of war, you can't just say, oh yeah, of course I had a great sword all along. Didn't you know? But if
Well,
you
that
had
makes sense then. I mean, that could make sense if it's like.
I believe it sounds like it's the weapons of war and the armor.
Yeah.
Versus
like that you have to pick.
Yeah, I'm going out in my armor, not I got hit. Shit. Yeah, of course I wore my armor today, boss.
But I do think I think you're right about that. But I don't know, what does the gear say? Like weapons of war, is there? Because I think probably like a spear would be fine.
Well, there's common bronze weapons, which is what I figure you would have. Like, oh yeah, of course I had a basic spear,
a dagger. Yes, exactly. But those are common. Yeah.
Me having an iron warhammer, that I'm not pulling that out of hiding.
I think that's fair, yes.
Now, if you guys saw what I had posted for my playbook for Armored, if you do take armor, it does give you that cumbersome thing. I ignore cumbersome because of the playbook.
I also have that, yeah.
Oh yeah, no.
Wait, really? Oh, is there something I don't see?
So you can't just like take armor without having a penalty unless you have something that says otherwise.
Yeah, if you're not trained to wear armor, it doesn't do well.
You're noisy, slow, quick to tire when carrying it, even without a heavy load. If you take armor and you don't have the armored playbook move, basically.
Where in the gear does it say how many pips it would take?
I'm assuming that's the value.
No, it's not the value. It shows you on the gear and moves PDF like how many, unless you're talking about like common weapons or.
If you look in the PDF, there's a little diamond. If it doesn't have one, I'm assuming it's like free, like load wise. But
not
value
quite.
is
Not quite.
I'm in the wrong PDF.
It depends, because there's things like if you're looking at transport, those things aren't free necessarily.
Where?
Like I'm looking at the moves and gear.
Yeah, but it doesn't have what's the
very top
load?
Last column.
What would be the load then if they don't have the pip?
It depends on what I think specifically what you're talking about. Like if you're talking about like transports and stuff, that's a different move.
Okay.
There is a relative. Well, that's value. Is that
value is like
I
believe value is monetary value.
Money.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Because if you look on the left hand, it says relative value, like a value of 1 is generally worth something. So it's just talking about how much it might cost. But the pips on the left are like how much it costs to equip.
It does. I mean, it does say right at the top though. It's like the diamond. If it has the diamond, that's what takes up a slot in your inventory. So things that don't have diamonds might still be like they're not just like, oh, we have these free, but they don't count.
They don't count. Right. Yes, I think that's fair. Because there's a move called. What is it called? Sorry, too many sheets open. Where basically you have to like almost petition the town to take certain things. Requisition. So when you borrow some of the steading's assets for an expedition like horses, a plow, a wagon, etc., you actually have to roll for it. And I think there's certain things that qualify under that. It might not count
We
against
could be
load,
like,
but
we want to take 2 barrels of whiskey from the town to go trade with somebody or offer it or something, and that's not. None of us have to carry the whiskey and be
Right.
like, okay, so I can't carry my sword anymore. It's just, but we have to spend some other resource or do something to obtain it. That makes sense.
Yeah, it also says barrel of whiskey, common, but it's immobile. It has a tag
Yeah.
of immobile. You just can't move it.
You can't move it. You need to put it in a wheelbarrow.
Man, this
I
whiskey
guess.
feels like it's made of stones.
Where's the
Can I take
shield?
Can I take a goat with me?
That would probably be a requisition thing. I don't know.
We
So I
can
don't see anything like, I guess, camping supplies and stuff. Is that just like
So
it would be automatic?
not quite. You're right to call that out. I don't think it requires load. So let's talk about that. That's a good call out. So there is a mechanic in this game, and of course you call me on it, and I'm not gonna be able to find it now. Basically, it's just called supplies. So there's a move called recover. Um, I think you have to spend supplies. Where is it described? Keep company? No.
Under the move recover, yeah, there's usage of supplies to gain HP back.
Yeah, but I'm trying to remember how many supplies you guys start out with, because that's
Forage.
not...
When you spend a few hours seeking for food in the wild, you acquire provisions. Checkbox as load. You discover something useful. Provisions can substitute for supplies when you make camp. 1 for 1. So make camp is something. That's capitalized.
It's another move. When you settle in to rest in an unsafe area, answer the GM's questions about your campsite. Each member of the party must consume one of use of supplies or provisions. If you use a mess kit, requires fire and water, then one use can provide for up to 4 people. If you eat and drink your fill and get at least a few hours of sleep, you get to pick from either clearing a debility or regaining half of your HP. If your rest was particularly peaceful, comfortable, or enjoyable, you also gain advantage on your next roll.
So I think that the thing with supplies is you do have to take one pip of supplies. I'm trying to find a better thing in the page 89. Okay. Near the top of your inventory, you'll find, okay, so it does cost 1 pip for supplies. And then there's a second one for more supplies and a third one for even more supplies. And each pip of supplies contains 4 uses. But you add Stonetop's current prosperity to that. So if Stonetop's prosperity is currently +1, then each pip of supplies contains 5 uses instead of 4.
Okay.
So yeah, each of you should probably take
We
one
each
thing.
have 4 supplies if we take.
Where are these?
I don't know where it's written. but
The
I see.
irony is that my crew's handout in the inserts covers a lot of this a lot better. There's pips for like supplies, even more supplies, mess kit, bed rolls, blankets, change of clothes, shovels. Literally everything is listed on their sheet.
Yeah, because
I think everyone should be able to see it. It's in inserts and then it just says crew, but it's really detailed.
yeah,
I don't know
this
if you
is
want
this
it
is what
to be
they
this
need.
detailed.
Yeah, I mean that it does help though. You're right. Because each of you technically has an insert for this, but like they're all basically identical. Like because you see all inserts, that's all the inserts in the core book. And if like one of you is playing the Seeker, for example, or if there's other playbooks that apply here, but none of you have those. But yeah, John's right. There's one thing of supplies, 4 plus prosperity uses, even more supplies.
Ghost consequences, revenant consequences,
Exactly.
thrall,
Yes.
thrall marks. Yeah, but most of them. Oh, animal companion, initiates of Danu, invocations. Oh yeah, this is. So invocations would be like the Lightbringer.
Correct.
Initiates of
Lightbearer,
Danu.
yeah.
That's probably the blessed. So
It is. Yeah. If Mel would have chosen that, that would have been an insert that mattered.
Thrall.
She has no followers. Yeah, so those supplies, like I said, those are used to recover when you're out during an expedition. Um, and apparently, you also need to use it to have what you need to produce additional small items. When you decide that you had something all along, transfer a mark or marks from your undefined into a specific item or slot. If you mark. Oh, alternately, you can expend a use of supplies to mark an additional small item slot. I see. Okay. That kind of makes sense.
When you have what you need, move a check mark from here to the list below. Okay, so yeah, the things in the all inserts.
Correct. Yeah.
That's where we have our So you say I want my weapon for sure. That's 2 or whatever, and then I'm gonna put 3 as undefined because I want to be able to spend them on these things, but I don't know what or when, and then 1 more on something else specific. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, it's weird that none of this is in the gear handout, like any of these things that are listed.
Yeah, but as you've seen from some of the moves, like foraging is a thing you can do, recovering, making camp. These are all things you can do as you might get hurt or things. These are useful.
So if we just list that as supplies, since you can use supplies 4 times, it says that supplies are used for camping and recovering health. So we don't have to do that whole thing that's on that crew sheet, right? We can just take supplies.
I'm not quite sure I understand your question.
So as far as our load is concerned, if we're out here more than 1 day and we have to camp, what it's describing as supplies is stuff that you can regain hit points, camping, etc., etc. So the stuff that's all listed under my crew's gear, where it's like bedrolls and crap like that, we don't need to take all of those individually. We could just say supplies.
Gear. I think that page, so the left hand is like the player's inventory for blank, and you put Killian, the marshal, and then because this is what's the same on all those other pages in the all inserts, and then because you're the marshal, your second half has the crew thing because you can outfit them as well with things.
Yeah, I think John, if I understand your question, like if you're saying like you could say like have what you need to check a bedroll, like if you wanted one, if you decide you need it. Or you could
look at my character sheet real quick under equipment. So I have my gear, and then under others I have supplies.
Okay.
And that would be 6 dots.
4 dots.
It would be 4 dots, yeah.
We don't have any prosperity yet.
What?
I think we could get a max of 6. Like if our town had prosperity, which is why there's 6 dots there. That's just a thing to. I think in the paper version, that is the box that you would mark to say I've used one of my uses of this row of supplies.
Okay, I don't see actual dots on my character sheet.
Oh, not on your character sheet. Sorry, I'm looking at the inventory.
Like he's looking at the handout.
Oh.
Yeah, it shows 6 uses, but I think it's.
It's 4 plus the town's prosperity, but because the town's prosperity is 0 right now, you have 4 uses each. As the town's prosperity grows, you will get access to more of that stuff.
Right, but as far as what I have listed on my sheet right now, under equipment, that's 6 dots, right?
Oh, I see. Iron sword.
That's the composite bow, the hauberk shield, the bullseye lantern, and then supplies. And then supplies would be used 4 times.
Correct. I see what John's saying now. Yes. Yes, that's correct.
So what I've done is on the stuff that I'm bringing with me, I actually just added the load cost, like next to it. I edited the name to indicate not only to me that that's what I'm bringing with me, but my load total.
Yeah, I thought about doing something similar, Mel. I think that's a good idea. Yeah, you can edit those to say how many uses, or like I was also thinking about if there was a way to make it so you could, like I was using the quantity. I was thinking about using the quantity to be like, this is how much this thing costs to take. Like if you make it a 2, then it's a 2 pip item. But I thought that might get a little confusing for folks. So
Well, I mean, you can do so like for the uses, I have supplies. It's 1 load, but I have 4 uses. And that you can tally up by left clicking up and then right click. It'll actually tally down as you use them.
nice.
Cool.
Okay.
Would my sacred pouch count as a load item though? Because
I-
a small item's a pouch.
Right. I'm gonna say no for now. Like again, I might have to talk to the Discord because it's weird to me that special possessions. The language does imply that those should cost, but also like that's weird to me mechanically that they would. Because that seems like really
then-
unfair for certain playbooks. Like I feel like it screws up the marshal because he gets like
Why
weapons
is
of war.
your
shield.
special weapon, your special thing, a weapon of war, and then I can just grab a weapon of war too?
Right. Exactly. That seems odd to me. I feel like that doesn't make much sense. So.
This is a little off topic, but since I'm a child, should I be giggling every time someone says load?
Absolutely.
I mean, yes. I think the
Okay.
answer, yeah, pretty unequivocally, yes. Okay. So now you guys have all chosen your load. All right.
So how does the supplies work? 4 plus prosperity. Our prosperity is 0, so we take a pip for supplies and we get 4 supplies.
Correct. Each.
Cool.
If you
I did
take
that
the
right.
supplies. Yep. And again, like foraging and stuff, these are all options when you're out there, assuming you don't get killed.
I have advantage on foraging, I think.
Guess we'll see. Yeah, and like we're just past time, so I think that's all we need to do for now. You guys have chosen your load, and I'm sorry that took so long, but it would be helpful to have a proper character sheets. That would probably solve a lot of this, but it is what it is. So yeah, then we will jump in. I think next week, and I think everyone's here. KT, I think didn't you say you were going to be like on an iPad kid next week or something?
Yeah, I'm iPad baby next week. Sorry.
How
Lame.
I do not know if Foundry will work on the iPad, so we'll see.
I mean, it's browser based, right? The Forge is browser based, so I would think
Whatever
so.
you do, don't try it until that day.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
Actually, I might
there's
bring
no way
my-
you could try it ahead of time. That's not
Like
a thing.
10 minutes before the game, just try it.
I might bring my
Not even
laptop
that. Like just wait
because-
until 20 minutes late. Show up 20 minutes late, and then be like, "Oh, I thought this would work." And then
To be honest, that might happen because I'm running back straight from a con.
it's
So
your real one, KT.
Yeah, this week where she's not
Fine.
working because she still doesn't have a
Convict.
job. Now she has her grade. She won't have time to,
yeah,
KT's a hustler.
I'm hustling. I'm side hustling, etc.
She's going to become a scrum master and become the bane of my existence even more.
Yep. I exist solely to torture Sean. Okay, I'm gonna go lie down now.
All right. Well, if
Okay,
anything
good night.
comes up during the
Good
week,
night.
any other questions, comments, concerns, etc. Slow session to start, but I mean we're getting into
No.
it, so
I think that was a
Oh.
good start, though.
Yeah.
I like
absolutely.
where
I like
there's
how established everything is as
Yeah.
like a town.
It feels real.
Mm-hmm.
good. I'm glad.
Yeah.
I'm really glad to hear that.
We want to find this kid. We actually care about the missing child.
Yeah, he's
Sure.
yes,
Uh,
Well,
maybe.
We care about the missing child because the consequence of the child going missing is bad for everybody.
Sure,
Yes.
that's
I
accurate.
care more
That's
about the
true.
people that like how bad the mom and daughter will feel if the kid is found dead
I'm more concerned with seeing why the creatures are getting so bold.
too.
Yeah,
Gotta fight
maybe we'll
back
get some
fast.
insight there. I don't know.
It's ironic that they showed up when that new judge came into town.
Yeah,
No,
definitely.
they didn't.
Yes.
I got here 6 months ago. Look, there were no Crinwin attacks.
Just before the attack.
wait, not just before.
Yep. Just enough to
Didn't-
scout things out.
Yeah.
Definitely a cultist. All right. Well, if anything comes up during the week, obviously let us know, and we'll
Yeah.
jump into hopefully finding a missing kid next week.
Yay.
Sounds
Bye.
good.
All right.
Bye,
Have a
everyone.
good week, guys.
Bye.
Take
Bye,
it easy.
everyone.
Night, y'all.